still racing. I'm just going to do a couple of things. So you know, no rain is predicted, 0%. Hello there, John. Hope you're doing well. I'm just going to pause the stream and I'm going to do something and then I'll be back. Apologies for that. Okay. This is the constructor standings. McLaren leading by a country mile. Mercedes in second, just ahead of Ferrari. Red Bull of Ferrari of third. Red Bull of fourth. Williams are in fifth, but Haas are slowly closing in. The latest news is that a Ferrari key figure forced Schumacher's retirement is now the chairman of McLaren's holding group. Okay, I mean, what's his name? I'm not sure. I keep forgetting because it's now like 2 decades ago. Water cars are circulating onto the grid. Let's just remind you of what the grid order looks like. Norris and Leclerc, row 1, row 2, Piastri and Hamilton, both McLaren and Ferrari. Mercedes, Russell alongside RB's Lawson. Fourth row, Red Bull's Verstappen out qualified by the junior RB alongside rookie Bottas in the Sauber in both his and Sauber's highest starting position of the season. Antonelli for Mercedes alongside Alpine's Gasly, who spun and crashed out in qualifying, but will be able to start in P10, and his car's number 10. Alonso and Albon on row 6. Yeah, Luca did Montezemolo. That's interesting. How has he ended up at McLaren? Yes, but row 7, Hadjar and Colapinto, RB and Alpine. Row 8, Bearman for Haas alongside Stroll. Ocon of Haas is on row 9. Tsunoda on alongside him in a Red Bull. Sainz of Williams and Hulkenberg on the back row together, both former Renault drivers. And now all the cars are lining up, of course. Yes, it slipped my memory that Luca Montezemolo was the one who turfed Schumacher out, but of course I'm not thinking about 2006 anymore. I'm thinking about today's race, which is why my memory slipped. And Carlos Sainz has been given permission to be released late from the pit lane, and the grid is going to have to wait quite a long time for Carlos Sainz to circulate around a track in order to start this race on the formation lap. And I don't know what's cracking off with Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz seems to be too busy doing adverts for L'Oreal, Hackett, and now Duracell.
Stuck in first gear.
Oh right, it's linked to the Abbey holding group. Thank you very much. I apologise for shouting. I'm getting a bit animated because obviously a lot of information is coming through. I am looking at the timing screen. Carlos Sainz will start in the pit lane. I've just seen his car go for the pit lane now. And his race will begin once everyone has passed the pit lane light at the entry of the pit lane. It's all down to Lando Norris to get a good start of this starting grid. Just so you know, I might be half a minute behind you all, so Okay, it looks like we might be getting another formation lap, which would mean that the race would drop down to just 70 laps instead. So Carlos Sainz apparently is entering court fire, and I think we are going to have to do another formation lap with I don't know whether Carlos Sainz will be able to start in the pit lane at all, to be honest. So, what a shame. It looks like we're going to have to wait 10 minutes to start the race properly. And Carlos Sainz's weekend. I know. Oh, brake fire, thank you. It looks like, what's it? Sayregara's prediction that Carlos Sainz's career is going off the rails has proven to be correct, because, and it kind of does make sense that he is chasing endorsement money from Duracell, L'Oreal, and Hackett, because, I mean, it's been a very rough start to the season, and unfortunately, I have to say, yeah, he might not be an F1 for too long if he carries on like this. Soft tyres for Gasly, Hadjar, Colapinto. I apologise for shouting. I don't know why. I can't stop shouting this weekend. Bearman, and of course Hulkenberg. I don't know whether Sainz can start the race, I'm afraid. He definitely will not be starting in P19. And unless they can remove those, extinguish the brake fire, I think Carlos Sainz might well be given a DNS. It did not start to his name. It's really not going well at all for Carlos Sainz this season at Williams. Huge expectations on the four-time Grand Prix winner, the son of former World Rally Champion Carlos Sainz Sr. Carlos Sainz should have stayed at McLaren, yes. You are 100% correct, John. I said it all along. I know there were people 4 years ago saying, oh, he's gone to Ferrari. They've got a quicker car. But it's like, hello there, Kiefer Chua, one of our regular channel visitors, is back again. Kiefer Chua, hope you're doing well this afternoon, evening, I beg your pardon, since I know you are at least 8 or 9 hours ahead of me. Hindsight is always 2020. Yes, I know you said that to me about, what was it, the whole Red Bull #2 situation, where I think it's become a lot worse now that there are rumours that Max Verstappen is on the verge of leaving the team and in talks with Mercedes. Obviously, it could well be an attempt by Max and his camp to get a better salary and a better deal for the future at Red Bull, but I have to say, if Red Bull continue to struggle for pace like this, with Tsunoda struggling even more than any of his predecessors, such as Perez, Albon, and Gasly, then next season could genuinely look bleak for Red Bull if Max decides to finally leave the team after a decade of driving for them. He has been there for 10 years, which, all I can say, the years have flown by for Max at Red Bull, because obviously the first 4 years, the first 3 years to be more specific, was it between 16 and 18, was very much Max Verstappen in his junior Formula stage of his career. But of course, because he made his debut in F1 so early, I mean, everyone forgets the fact that Max was still really very much a rookie for 4 years. And oh my goodness me, yeah, Alex Williams is Williams' main hope. Sorry, I'm gonna have to do something. We've got someone spamming the chat. Thank you for telling me about it. Misinformation. That is indeed a bot. Yeah. For some reason on my Chromebook, it still says that it still has the messages there, but it's been removed from the chat.
Twitter that is now going to be posted on Alex Albon's pet's Instagram account. Because, yeah, I mean, Sainz has been really nowhere this season.
It's very disappointing for Carlos Sainz. Obviously, I think Carlos Sainz is now retired from the race because I think they obviously could not extinguish the brake fire, and this caused far too much damage to the internals of the car. So, what a shame for the four-time Grand Prix winner. Hello there, Frank Bloom. I hope you're doing well this weekend. Obviously, we are having a delay to the race because Carlos Sainz had a massive fire on his brakes, and despite returning to the pit lane to try and extinguish the fire, yeah, look at that. That is Carlos Sainz out of the race, folks. Another blow to quite a frustrating season. And now this will be just a 70-lap race instead of 71, because obviously we've had a delay for Carlos Sainz's brake fire. Car was spitting smoke, overheating as it was wheeled back to the Williams pits. What a shame, but
Game over, Carlos.
don't know what he said, but yeah, we're going to have to wait another 3 laps. Sorry, we're going to have to wait another 3 minutes to start this race. Look at that, that's nasty. Look at that brake fire, folks. Very unfortunate there for car 55. Thankfully, he's got plenty of endorsement money coming towards him from L'Oreal hair, Hackett clothing, and of course Duracell batteries to top up his pension fund. Oh yeah, he also stored on the grid, which obviously probably caused the brakes to overheat.
Sorry, stuck in first gear.
What are your predictions for who will finish in the top 3 today? Apparently the moaning Yorkshireman is now turned 31 years old. Yeah, he will always be young. Yeah, well, you always will be a young man to me. Anyway, Williams, I have to say, I am very disappointed by their pace of this track because it is a fairly quick circuit. They tend to do well at power tracks where there's fewer corners around the track, lots of fast sections, and I have to say, for Albon's only qualified 12th, it's actually a massive disappointment. Hadjar, Colapinto, Bearman on the soft tyres, Hulkenberg on the softs, Gasly are also on softs, so there are a few drivers outside the top 9 that are gambling on the soft compounds, and that really should say Carlos Sainz in 20th place, because his day is done and dusted, I'm afraid, folks. It's been an agonising season for the Carlos Sainz fan base. In a minute's time, we should be getting underway for the race, the formation lap.
Let's see what happened on that track. We'll look at Liam Lawson, the young Kiwi who remarkably sixth on the grid in the racing ball.
If you're new to Crystal Racing, please hit like, say hi in the chat, hit the subscribe button, and do all the usual stuff here.
The second formation lap ahead of what's going to be now a 70-lap race at the Red Bull Ring.
Does Williams buy their brakes or did they buy it? I don't know. I presume Williams probably buy their brakes, to be honest, because to be honest, there's not that many teams that make their brakes, from what I know, unless it's probably, I don't know, maybe Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari, but I don't know what advantages you can get from having in-house brakes anymore in F1, because the cars are so similar in regulation. I mean, obviously, I know there's still teams who make their own gearboxes and suspension, because obviously that sort of thing is the sort of thing you can adjust quite dramatically depending on what you want your car to be like. But the brakes, I think all the brakes are now really similar now, because obviously they're all having to fit those massive, cars that have, the tyres have like, I don't know, 13-inch rims to them, or 18-inch rims, because obviously they're a lot bigger and faster than what they were back in 2016. Thank you for 2 likes here at Crystal Racing. All the support is very much appreciated. I think all the cars are now lining up onto the grid. Norris trying to keep the temperatures high in his brakes and tyres without setting them on fire. Hulkenberg has been promoted to P19 thanks to Carlos Sainz's brake nightmares. I am getting quite nervous now. Finally, we will start the race. Very, very sorry to see what happened to Carlos Sainz, but I'm sure that endorsement money from Hackett, L'Oreal, and Duracell will make sure he has a comfortable pension fund. I mean, I surely cannot be the only one who's been seeing Carlos Sainz adverts everywhere. When you were in Austria, a lot of DNS happened when you saw the race. Yeah, fair enough. Yep. Benfica and Chelsea would had that 3-hour delay for that rainstorm. Oh, we're off on the way for the start of the race. Norris, can he hold on? Piastri's up to second. What an overtake that it was by Piastri on Leclerc coming out turn 1. Can Lando hold his nerve? This is the question we're all asking. What happened here? I think Russell overshot turn 3. Verstappen and Antonelli have collided, and it's rooted. It's stuck on the exit of turn 3, and I think that's it for Verstappen and Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen are out of the race. Unbelievable. That's surely got to be a safety car. Another delay to the race, and the safety car is indeed out. Max Verstappen and Antonelli have collided. That is surely that for Max Verstappen's championship challenge, unless, of course, we get a double McLaren DNF, which is not happening. Yeah, I think Max's chances of becoming the first ever 5-time, the youngest ever 5-time consecutive world champion is down the bin. It really is. I told you, say, I saw the timing screen, and it's in his car along with Antonelli, just, I don't know, just stuck out on the exit of turn 3. They obviously collided, and it was just, au revoir for both Max in front of the Red Bull home fans, aka the Orange Army. And of course, Kimi Antonelli, who took his first podium in F1 for the first time, but last time out in Canada. Absolute shenanigans here on the opening lap of the formation lap here in Austria. Feel for Antonelli, though, 4 no scores in 5 races. Indeed, Antonelli has had a lot of bad luck. Oh, yeah, you were there in the 2018 Austrian Grand Prix, of course. Max won just ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, I can remember. Of course, Kimi, I think, only started 6th. I didn't even watch the race because I was just so upset by the sort of things people were saying about Kimi Räikkönen on social media that I didn't even watch the race. And then I turned around, it turned out to be the Blue Mercedes had a disastrous race and Sebastian Vettel got involved in another incident. I don't have a timing screen. Hamilton is in 4th place and Russell's in 5th, I think. Gasly up to 6th place. Amazing start by the Alpine driver, who I've got to say I was very worried about after he spun in qualifying. But Albon up to 7th. Great, fantastic start by the Thai British driver. Thanks to Max and Antonelli calamity. Bottas remains in 8th place. And it looks like Max Verstappen's Drivers' Championship is done and dusted. Honestly, I don't see how he gets back if, of course, Piastri finishes 2nd, which would mean that the gap between Max and Piastri would extend to 61 points. And honestly, with how slow the Red Bull has been for most of this season, I do not see a way back into the championship fight for Max Verstappen, even with his amazing, prodigious talent. Oh, well, here we go again. I'm trying to think, where's it? Oh my lord, no. Here we go again. Here we go again. He's back again. Another one into the bin. Vettel had quite a good race in 2018. He passed Hamilton. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, but I think Vettel got involved in another collision, as seemed to be the case with Vettel between 17 and 18. And of course, Vettel got involved in more incidents in 2019 and 2020. He's now gone. Yes, that's because I went and deleted him through myself being my own moderator. Lawson drops to 9th place, but of course I think that was because he had to take avoiding action for Max and Kimi colliding. Alonso rockets up to 10th place. Will F1 will be absolutely delighted to see that. Trying to think, did anyone fall off on the first lap dramatically? Hulkenberg climbs up to 60th. Hadjar falls to 17th. Tsunoda up to 15th. He's trying to get people to... Yeah, well, the thing is, so the only way you can watch the race without paying a hefty subscription fee to Sky or F1 TV is to buy a VPN. But of course, this is an audio-only commentary with some graphics to accompany my dulcet tones of my voice. Colapinto climbs to 11th place, Bearman up to 12th. Stroll in the lofty heights of 13th place. Yeah, but I've got to say this is a McLaren's fan wet dream come true. Verstappen out of the race and McLaren at 1-2, and it looks like at this rate Max Verstappen will have to pull off a miracle just to be able to finish 2nd in the championship at this rate, because of course the gap between Norris and Max was only 21 points, but now if Norris wins the race, it's going to be 46 points. So not only will Piastri be miles ahead, but so will Norris be quite a long way ahead as well in the championship fight. And I mean, whilst obviously this is not Red Bull's fault that Max is out of the race since he's the one who collided with Kimi Antonelli. Yeah. The thing is, Max will probably be like, well, I'm not going to win the championship, so here's the clause in my contract. I'm going to contact my lawyers to find every way I can wiggle out my way out of this contract so that I can go and sign for probably Mercedes next season, since, of course, George Russell told us about the fact that his team are in talks with the quadruple Dutch world champion. And, of course, yeah, I forgot we were actually back on the green flag racing. Don't think we've had any overtakes of no. Bearman overtakes Colapinto for 11th place. Only 17 cars remaining in the race. Hamilton defending like his life depends on it against his ex-teammate George of the Russell. We're on lap 6, everyone. Of course, the formation lap was delayed thanks to Carlos Sainz's brake fire nightmares. And Norris sets the fastest lap with a 9.858. It's a bit slow, if I'm going to be honest, considering how quick Norris went lap time, about 6 seconds faster in qualifying, but of course they are on heavy fuel. I mean, let's be real here, John. I mean, Max is not a contender in the championship fight anymore at this point. And I think McLaren are very much free to allow their drivers to race because Max Verstappen, the big bad wolf, the first edition holographic Charizard, is stuck on a motor, on a scooter, being wheeled back to the pits. Piastri, fastest lap, 9.34. Look at the pace McLaren are setting. They are like almost 9 tenths quicker than Leclerc and Ferrari. 9 tenths faster, folks. My God, this is impossible to fight against. Like, Jesus, wait. Even if Max got to upgrade to a Mercedes, he'd still be fighting with one hand behind his back. Unreal, unbelievable. Of course, oh yeah, Hadjar is in last place because of course he has removed his soft tyres and replaced them with a set of mediums. Well, last season we had a 1v1 fight for, what was it, the driver's title again, but last time it was Max versus Norris. But of course this time round, well, I think what you mean is this is a 2-driver championship fight, of course. The last time we had several drivers, meaning that we had more than 2 eligible to win the championship, was of course 2010, when of course we had Vettel, so Mark Webber, and Fernando Alonso in the championship fight. Hamilton, I think, yeah. 4 drivers, I beg your pardon. Of course, Sonic sponsorship. I don't know. I don't remember Sonic sponsored, what was it? The 1993 European Grand Prix held at Donington Park. And of course, Senna won the... Was he given a special Sonic the Hedgehog trophy? Although I would say, though, having Sega painted on the McLaren Papaya livery would stand out brilliantly. But my goodness me, look at that. It is now 3.3 seconds between Piastri and Leclerc. In just 3, I mean, God, oh my word, McLaren are literally a second faster than everyone else. Of course, Piastri and Leclerc's just set a fastest lap of a 9.9, and personal best of a 9.9, I beg your pardon. But good grief, man. Hamilton himself is struggling, cannot get within the 1 minute 10s. Albon is P6. Yes, Albon's just overtaken Gasly, but Gasly's retaken P6 off him from what, well, my stream is an hour, what is about 30 seconds behind the top live timing. And that will play into Russell's hand because, of course, well, he's dropped off a little bit in comparison to Hamilton now, about 2 seconds behind. Did a couple of days ago a Sega partnership? Thank you, for Keith Horrobin. Yes, you are correct. Max did indeed collide with Kimi Antonelli. Of course, yes, I hope you're doing very well wherever you are in the world, Keith. Here at Crystal Racing, of course, 3 people have liked the video. Thank you very much all for watching. Albon retakes P6 of Gasly. It's going to be a very exciting battle between the Williams and the Alpine. Obviously, put down who you think the top 3 will be at the race. I have to say this. Oh, Norris and Piastri are fighting very closely for the lead. I don't know. I think Piastri could well win today and beat Norris, and Leclerc's going to be holding on for P3 with Hamilton once again failing to get his nose in front of Leclerc for the 18th race this season. I mean, I have to say, Hamilton's lack of qualifying pace is definitely costing him chances of finishing ahead of Leclerc, to be honest, because Leclerc is bulletproof when it comes to one-lap speed. Piastri looks hungry. Piastri's now set a fastest lap of a 9.27. Serious pace from the championship leader from down under. And Piastri is looking to become the sport's first Australian world champion since 1980, when Alan Jones won the championship for Williams. I don't know why I'm shouting, mate. I don't know what it is. My voice just seems to have got all weird and hoarse, but the FIA will have dropped their investigation for Colapinto and Bearman's little incident where Colapinto is 12th and Bearman is 11th, so apparently we don't seem to be getting any sort of investigation coming towards Kimi Antonelli and Verstappen's collision. And I think they've put it down as a racing incident. We need a Lando win. I don't know. I mean, I suppose you might be a Lando Norris fan, so good luck to him. Blimey, I think you know what it is. You know what it is? I bet you Zach Brown must be nervous watching his 2 drivers dice again. Hello to Luca Fanfoni. Obviously, I know they don't do team orders at McLaren, but my goodness me, I bet you Zach Brown probably wants his drivers to calm down. Yeah, I feel terrible for Carlos, but of course he did only qualify 19th. Zach is not even in Austria today. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Super Lando, Luca Fafoni, I hope you're doing well in the chat, wherever you are in the world. Ciao a tutti. Yep. Hello to everyone in the chat. And, Bearman's just pitted for new hard tyres. Hadjar's now up to 14th, obviously. Oh yeah, Gasly and Hulkenberg have pitted, so of course that has now promoted Bottas, Lawson, Alonso, and Colapinto into 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th places. Carlos was complaining about brakes yesterday in qualifying. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. I think the brakes were causing him all sorts of havoc in qualifying, meaning he had to go out in Q1, and of course, it also meant that his race was over before it began today. So, very unfortunate for Carlos. But Williams are in 5th place in the Constructors with 55 points, and they started the day 27 points ahead of Haas. So, I don't think that will affect their Constructors standing whatsoever, since they are in a very safe and secure 5th place. And to be honest, I really struggle to see any midfield team challenging Williams to the top 5. But of course, Williams are in no man's land in the Constructors, because they are about almost a century of points behind Red Bull. I have to say this, it really does look like it's going to be a comfortable McLaren 1-2, and I really wish I could tell you more, but Alonso, trying to look, Albon's pitted. I don't know why the hell it's not updated. What is going on? Lawson's up to 7th, Alonso's up to 8th. Piastri is now all over Norris's neck, going down into turn 3. We're on lap 15. Norris takes the inside line to defend. Can he hold on to the lead? Piastri is absolutely rattling the British driver's cage right now. Norris has got an insane amount of defending to do. Both drivers on medium tyres for the McLarens. And despite all of that, they are somehow still pulling ahead of Ferrari, who just simply have no pace to compete. Bottas now up to 6th, Lawson 7th, 8th, Alonso, as of course Albon and Gasly have just pitted, with Albon coming out in 13th, Gasly in 15th, sandwiching Ollie Bearman's horse, who was also just pitted. Albon's gone onto a second set of medium tyres, whilst Gasly's gone onto mediums. And Gasly overtakes Bearman for P14. Of course, the top 11, with Tsunoda and Stroll now in 10th and 11th, have yet to pit. And of course, Ocon has climbed into 9th place, but he's still yet to pit as well. So I am interested to see how these cars are redistributed once they've all pitted. Obviously, this looks like it's going to be at least a 2 or 3 stop race. What the hell's going on? Albon's pitted again. What's going on at Williams? Why is Albon pitting again? I don't know what's going on, folks. This has got to be a retirement. Oh, Williams is a double DNF for the boys at Grove in Banbury. Williams, the day from hell has been completed for the guys who are sitting in 5th place in the constructor standings. Albon, looking so good at the start of the race, climbing up to 6th place ahead of Gasly, has now been forced to retire. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but in recent years, whenever Williams get a quick car, their car then starts developing mechanical issues. So, now we are down to just 16 cars in the race here at the Austrian Grand Prix, with only 16 laps completed, and we've still got 54 laps to go, folks, thanks to, of course, Sainz's brake fire at the start. Verstappen and Antonelli colliding at turn 3 on lap 1. And now Alex Albon is the latest retiree in this race, and it looks like we could be having a bit of a battle of attrition today. So, but as it stands, of course, we're still waiting for the top 11 cars from Norris all the way down to Lance Stroll to go to the pits. It looks like the front runners are going to be going for a 2-stop, whilst the back markers are trying to attempt a 3-stop today. And the gap between Norris and Sainz has now blossomed, has now grown to 6.2 seconds. That's the, my goodness me, McLaren are simply in a league of their own today. And I think today's the day when Max Verstappen's opportunity and hopes of becoming the youngest ever 5-time world champion, as well as the youngest 5-time consecutive champion, took a massive blow. I wouldn't go as far to say it has extinguished, but it is looking very bleak. And it's probably likely that as long as Piastri finishes second in the race today, Piastri's advantage over Verstappen will now grow to 61 points. And my goodness me, with how slow the Red Bull has been this season, with of course Adrian Newey having packed his bags 18 months ago to join Aston Martin, I think Max is going to really now seriously consider whatever contract offer Mercedes-Benz have got on offer for Max. And of course, I would not be surprised if in exchange Red Bull get George Russell in his place, because there's no way George and Max will be in the same team together. Russell has pitted. Tsunoda also pits. Oh my God, Tsunoda really needs to pull his finger out, because he's in absolute... I'm sorry, but Tsunoda's performances at Red Bull have been significantly worse than anything I've seen from Perez, Albon or Gasly at the Milton Keynes squad. I mean, if you're a fan of McLaren, I mean, you probably wouldn't really be that bothered about who actually wins the Drivers' Championship between the two drivers, but obviously I know Norris has really won a lot of McLaren's fans' patience. Tsunoda pits and he comes out in last place. Oh dear. And Tsunoda's now gone into the hard compounds, which is the same compounds that Gasly and Bearman are using. So it looks like Gasly, Bearman and Tsunoda are trying to go for a 2-stop. Past Piastri once again giving more heat onto Lando Norris's shoulders here. Lando, 20 laps into the race, he looks calm and composed, but he's lacking pace in comparison to his Aussie teammate. Leclerc, Hamilton remain third and fourth. Bottas has now climbed up to 5th place, and he's holding his own against Liam Lawson in the RB. And I have to say, it looks like RB actually have superior pace than what Red Bull have. Obviously, Max Verstappen retiring from the race means that we have no idea what we... Oh, Norris has pitted. Norris pits. Now let's see how quick Piastri is in clean air. I think if Piastri can really pump out a couple of quick laps in clean air, it could be Piastri's 6th win of the season, according to my stats inside my brain. Norris comes out in front of Bottas, and he comes out in 4th place. There's no way. I mean, obviously, what a great weekend Bottas is having, and I think, could this be the weekend that Bottas really announces himself as a proper F1 driver? I think it could be. Was his South American rival Colapinto struggles in 14th place in Alpine. Hadjar's pitted. Oh no, Hadjar's not pitted, but oh yeah, he's already pitted earlier, but he's now up to 9th place with Russell in 10th place. That RB's got some serious pace in that car, so I'm going to look at the lap times. Hadjar's done a 12.6. Yeah, thank you for stating the obvious. Say 11.75 for Lawson on the previous lap. We've just done 21 laps of the race. We've got 49 to go. Bortoletto pits, Lawson up to 5th, Alonso up to 6th. Let's see, Lando's previous lap was a 27.8, obviously, taking his pit stop into account. Oscar did a 10.6. Now, I think once Norris completes this next lap, then we're going to see the pace comparison. Bortoletto's come out behind his teammate and behind Bearman in 13th place. So, Bottas has got a bit of work to do because he's got to overtake Bearman, and then of course he's going to have to try and rely on his team to give team orders to Hulkenberg to not hold the young Brazilian up. Hamilton is struggling for pace. I mean, he went half a second slower than Leclerc on the previous lap. Oh dear. And the gap remains about 3 seconds between the two Ferrari drivers. Piastri's previous lap a 10.9. Whilst Norris just did a 9.9 on hard tyres. So it looks like Piastri's going to have to stay out for a bit longer. Horner is not so high and mighty now. Hello there, Stefania. I hope you're doing well this afternoon, watching this Austrian Grand Prix here in the 2025 F1 World Championship with championship leader Oscar Piastri leading, but Lando Norris has just completed his first pit stop where he switched onto hard compound. Oh, who's going to finish 8th, 9th and 10th? Good question. I'm going to look at Gasly. I think Gasly obviously has been on the hard tyres for 10 laps. I think Gasly could finish in 8th, 9th and 10th probably. Alonso could be one of the other runners, and maybe Bortoletto could finish 10th. But as it stands, who's currently in 10th? Gasly's in 10th place on the hard compound. Only cars to pit. There's only 6 cars yet to pit yet. Don't know why it's saying mediums of Norris. It is Piastri, Leclerc, Hamilton, Lawson, and the 2 Aston Martins of Alonso and Stroll who are yet to pit. Obviously, Stroll is going to fall miles down the order once he pits. And Lawson could well take 7th place with the way he's running. Piastri, yet he's finally pit. I'm 30 seconds behind you, so please be a bit patient when you tell me what's going on. And the F1 timing app is having a strop again. Hard tyres for Lando. What tyres are they going to fit onto Piastri's McLaren? And Piastri comes out about probably 3 seconds behind Norris. So he's actually lost a lot of time staying out 4 laps longer than he did. He's also on hard tyres now, but Lando Norris gained a huge amount of time pitting, doing the undercut when he did. And Piastri has paid the price for staying out 4 laps longer. And of course, the 2 Ferraris are all leading on the road. And of course, if they were to get a safety car, oh wow, we've got a real spanner thrown into the works there. Stroll and Hadjar fighting. Hadjar takes P7. Stroll forced to 9th place. Hamilton takes the lead as Leclerc has pitted. Leclerc has gone to the pits, everyone. Hamilton is only 3.8 seconds ahead of Norris, who is really leading in net positions. Leclerc will emerge behind Lawson and Alonso down in 6th place. So that's also, I mean, Leclerc's lost quite a bit of time as well, if I'm going to be honest, and he's lost a couple of positions to top it off. And Lawson and Alonso are going to be holding each other up to make, which will almost certainly put a huge smile on Leclerc's face. McLaren has a problem with the left forward brakes or something. Well, I mean, compared to whatever problem McLaren's are having, that is practically insignificant compared to what every other team is having in that. Every other car on the grid is ridiculously slow in comparison to the Papayol cars. And Russell is about, how many seconds? 11 seconds behind Leclerc. That's a huge gap huge amount of time to be giving away. Hamilton pits. Norris returns to the lead. Piastri 6.5 seconds behind his teammate. That has worked out horribly badly for the championship leader, but is this race live? Yes, it is. But of course, if you want to, I don't know, get a VPN, then go and, I don't know, you can always go and buy Surfshark and go on, I don't know, the service network or something to watch live pictures, because I'm doing an audio commentary with the race order as my graphics. Norris, Hamilton, Piastri, Lawson still yet to pit, Alonso still yet to pit, Stroll's pitted, and he's come out in last place. If Alonso was to pit now, he would come out down in probably 15th place. So, yeah, he overtaken Alonso. No surprises there. I think Alonso's obviously having to be forced to wave the Ferraris past because he's not in a battle with Ferrari. He's in a battle for 6th place at 6th, 7th, or 8th place. Gasly, what's happened there? He's been overtaken by Bortoleto, and of course Bortoleto on the medium compound having way more grip than Gasly on the hard compounds. That took Bortoleto about 3 or 4 laps to get past, and Hulkenberg, well, I wonder if team orders are going to come into play, because of course Hulkenberg's medium tyres are 9 laps older than Bortoleto's medium tyres, and Bortoleto has clearly been the faster driver all weekend at Sauber, so this is going to be interesting what Matteo Binotto or any of his pit crew say to the lead Sauber driver. Leclerc is in a tight battle for Lawson, but Leclerc takes P3 off Lawson. Oh, that's interesting. Alonso. Yeah, well, Alonso has a 1.1 second gap, so I mean, it's not like Alonso really wants to give up P5 so easily, but unless, of course, Hamilton can dive one down the inside somewhere. The gap between the McLarens is now at a steady rate to 6.5 seconds. Piastri is struggling to make any inroads with his teammate, basically doing the same lap times, 9.5. Lawson and Alonso are the 2 remaining cars to have yet to pit. And just so you know, Bortoleto and Russell will need to pit again because they have only used medium tyres on both of their stints so far. Hadjar has pitted. I don't know why is he pitting. Obviously, oh yeah, he had a pit stop during the safety car, so his medium tyres have cried it off. Both Saubers in the points. Unbelievable pace by the boys in green. Finally showing, I mean, obviously this is one of Sauber's strongest tracks on the whole calendar, so it should be no surprise that Sauber are flying around here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. Gotta say, as a kid, the Red Bull Ring was one of my favourite tracks to race on because it's big, it's wide, it's fast. There's only 9 corners. There's only about 6 braking zones, so it's a very easy track to learn for a beginner driver. Hamilton back up to 4th place. Of course, we're still waiting for Lawson and Alonso to pit, but if they do pit, they will drop down to 10th and 11th place respectively. And of course, Bortoleto and Hulkenberg would climb to 6th and 7th in really impressive pace by the Sauber boys. Gotta say, I think Sauber look like they've got the fastest midfield car this weekend, surprisingly. I mean, I mean, obviously, I know the Red Bull Ring is one of Sauber's strongest tracks, but they're going a lot faster than I expected they would. I mean, it looks... I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, because I know back in 2019, I mean, Kimi and Giovinazzi were both able to have a very good race here, finishing, what's it, 8th and 9th on the road, or 7th and 8th? I can't remember. Colapinto and Tsunoda have just come together, and Colapinto is forced to drop back after a quick trip to the gravel, and oh my god, Alpine, really? Yeah, I mean, Gasly's now, what, 2.6 seconds behind Hulkenberg? Of course, the Alpine is just such a difficult car to set up. It just, oh my god, it's got such a narrow window of performance. Tsunoda and Colapinto collided. Yes, I saw that. And, wow, I think there's going to be a lot of Spanish swear words appearing on Yuki Tsunoda's, notification page tonight on both Instagram and Twitter, I'm afraid. Tsunoda is forced to pit. Red Bull's weekend, well, it didn't look like Tsunoda was going to score points, and honestly, Red Bull have got a real conundrum because, of course, you know, they have a number 2 issue. If they keep Yuki Tsunoda, they're almost certainly going to destroy his reputation for good, and he's going to be out of the sport after 2025 and with no offers on the table. And if they promote Hadjar, then they're probably going to destroy Hadjar's reputation. And PM word comes to mind. I don't know. I think you're talking about Yuki Tsunoda getting his P45, I'm afraid. Because, you know, as much as I do feel sorry for him in the number 2 Red Bull, his reputation is just completely collapsing before our eyes, to be honest, because even though, yes, I know Red Bull are struggling with this year's car, but he surely should be trying to be on the verge of scoring a couple of points here and there at the verge of the top 10. Like, I know the Red Bull is a hard car to drive, but my god, it's not that hard to drive, surely. I mean, I did say that Max Verstappen, that, you know, when George Russell came out and said that Mercedes are talking to Max Verstappen, I think it is serious now. Like, even though some people say, oh, you know, Max is trying to negotiate a better deal with Red Bull, obviously next season, Red Bull will have a new engine supplier in Ford. And of course, no one has any idea of how competitive those Ford engines will be, because Ford have not developed an F1 engine since 2004, and of course, after 2004, they sold their Jaguar team to Red Bull, and they also sold Cosworth off to Audi, and I think Cosworth now has been sold off to another company. So yeah, so Ford have not been in charge of any F1 engine supplier for like 2 decades now, and of course, when they do return to F1 next year, they will not have a partnership with Cosworth like they did in the past. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Ford are going to be like next season. Piastri is now slowly digging into Norris's advantage, down to 5.7 seconds. Oh, right, Audi have got experience because of Le Mans prototypes, yeah, but I mean, you did say yesterday that Audi have got power unit issues and Ocon overtakes Gasly for P9. Thank you for reminding me. I mean, really, did you really have to tell me about that? Lawson has pitted. Why on earth is this stream so slow today? Which means Russell has now overtaken Alonso, who's now gone to the pits. And I mean, I'm sure the Saubers, like I said, are now climbing up to P6 and P7, and of course Ocon is now up to 8th with Gasly in 9th place. I mean, Alpine and Gasly's season honestly could not get worse. I know they're in the points, but to have Ocon in front of you, that just stinks, really. And Alonso will come out in P12. It turns out this live stream is actually a bit slow today compared to what it's usually been like in previous races where it's been on the bubble every time. It will update the order before I can see it on my own screen. And Bearman has climbed to 10th place, for those of you wondering, meaning that that's going to be 5 points in the kitty for Haas, who will close the gap to Williams in the constructor standings. I think down to just 22 points between the pair of them for 5th place, but of course Williams still have a substantial points advantage. And that's right, Sauber are on course to be scoring 14 massive points from one race if they can hold on. We're now at the halfway mark on lap 35. Of course, once Norris crosses the line, we will have another 35 laps to go. But as an Albon and Gasly fan, this is absolutely painful to watch as Bearman now overtakes Gasly for 10th place. That Alpine is an absolute pile of crap. Oh my God. Jesus, wet Gasly. I mean, I want Pierre Gasly to get on the phone to beg every team principal for a seat now because Alpine are absolutely garbage. Isn't Albon behind the Mercedes engine? I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know. Tsunoda gets a 10-second penalty. I mean, that's no surprise. I mean, I'm not really that particularly surprised on probably what happened. Tsunoda is having the season from hell. Let me just read this comment by Kiefer. Given how bad Red Bull's pace has been, Max is probably getting the FIA to give him a race ban. And he doesn't care. He's fed up with Red Bull. Yeah, I think Max is just done with this season. Honestly, I think another bad qualifying session in Silverstone, and I think Max is just going to be like... Well, I mean, the thing is, obviously, I think... Max will start losing penalty points after this weekend, so I think the likelihood of Max getting a race ban is actually going to start decreasing. I don't know, like, Albon, I know Albon was obviously behind Mercedes engines back in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s when it was the V8s and the V10s, but how much involvement Albon has had behind Mercedes with the hybrid power units is a lot more nebulous at best. Let's look at the... Let's look at the lap times again, folks. 10.4 seconds is a gap. 10.3 is now the gap between the two McLarens. And Piastri is lapping 0.3 of a second quicker than his teammate. Norris 9.8. Piastri 9.5 on the previous lap. We've got 33 laps remaining, everybody. Leclerc doing a 9.6. Hamilton 9.4. Ferrari finally finding a bit of pace, but Leclerc is about almost 19 seconds behind Norris on the road. So once again, Ferrari have got no idea how to set their car up for qualifying, as per usual. Ferrari, as I like to say here at Crystal Racing, as they continue their 17-year tea break. Whilst Russell is just on a 10.45, so if that was Max Verstappen, I mean, unfortunately, he probably would only be doing like 10.1 in terms of lap times at best on a good day. So, I don't know how much of an improvement the Mercedes is on Max's Red Bull, to be honest. Meanwhile, the two Saubers are doing 10.6 and 10.8 on the previous lap. So, Mercedes are struggling to hold off Sauber right now for pure pace. And to make matters worse, Haas Ocon's just done a 10.66. And Gasly's now dropped 2 seconds behind Bearman. So, good grief, Alpine. I've got one miserable car, miserably slow car. Oh, right, they rebranded the Ilmore factory to Mercedes AMG High Power Performance Power Unit powertrains. Okay. I don't know what's gone on. Like, what happened to the two men who used to run Ilmore? I think they've gone and retired. That's why they've rebranded it, and they don't really see like Ilmore's being their thing anymore because they haven't contributed. I keep forgetting their names. I think it's like an amalgamation of like the two founders' names, and then obviously Ilmore teamed up with Sauber when Sauber were a sports car team, and they built Sauber's Mercedes' engines in the sports car series back in the late 80s / early 90s. And then, of course, Ilmore then built Sauber's first ever F1 engine back in 1993. And then, of course, they teamed up with Mercedes for 1994. Of course, I know what's the Ilmore, the Sauber engine name was. I don't know, I think they called it Sauber, but everyone knew it was actually built by Ilmore. And then, of course, Sauber went into official factory partnership with Mercedes for 94. But then, of course, for 1995, Mercedes dumped Sauber for McLaren. And, of course, Sauber were forced to plump for Ford Cosworth engines for 1995. Bottas is now leading his teammate by 4.3 seconds. An impressive performance by the young Brazilian, who is definitely announcing himself to the world as an F1 driver. Lawson's in 9th. Lawson's just overtaken Bearman for 9th. What's going on there? Gasly's pitted. Gasly's pitted again. Alonso's 10th. Oh no, Bearman's pitted as well. Colapinto's also pitted. Alpine are having the day from hell. Bearman, Gasly, Tsunoda, and Colapinto have all got a lap down as well, for good measure, showing how much pace the McLaren has relative to the bank markers. And it's still about 30 laps to go, so those four will probably finish the lap down, I'm afraid. Let me just read out a comment again from Kiefer. Wimbo, yes, I've seen that bloke who is a Max Verstappen fan, will now have his belief that Max was never in the championship fight justified, because he knows that McLaren have a huge advantage with having Rob Marshall as their aerodynamic chief. Yes. Oh, one of the Ilmore founders was terminated in an airplane crash. That is very sad to hear about. And yes, the gap is now just 3 seconds between the two McLaren drivers. And I've got to say, Norris's nerve is going to be tested yet again under pressure. Thank you to 21 people watching. I've got to say, the past 2 streams have been an overwhelming success, because, okay, it's only now 12 people, but 5 people have liked the video. Thank you very much for all the support here at Crystal Racing. Please like, subscribe, share this video to all your friends on Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want to share it, Facebook. 6 likes, thank you very much. Very generous support here. And of course, I'm now looking at the lap times. 9.9 previous lap for Norris, just lapping Stroll. And of course, Piastri's just done a 9.7. Yeah, that's very sad to hear say. And of course, but Leclerc, despite being 17 seconds behind, is 9.7, just on a 9.7 in lap time, of course. Although I don't think Leclerc will be able to catch Piastri and Norris if Norris really does fall back, because Hamilton's done a 10.1 and he is about 4 seconds behind his Monegasque teammate. Once again, Leclerc is very much firmly showing Hamilton who is the number 1 here at Maranello. But we have to remember, Hamilton is now a 40-year-old driver. I don't know, mate. I mean, I think we all underestimated how poor this year's Red Bull actually is. Like, the only race where Red Bull have looked quick was obviously the the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at Imola, where Max won, where Max kept pulling out a gap on McLaren whenever he got free clean air. I mean, as for his victory at Suzuka, I think that was just Max Verstappen out driving the car more than anything else. And let's face it, Red Bull have been terrible, and Red Bull very much have only got the 4th or 5th best car on the grid at this point in time. And truth be told, I think if Max was in this race, I think he'd be fighting Russell and Bottas for position. And of course, Hulkenberg's pitted, he's dropped down to P11. Yeah, Ferrari are always terrible, mate. Ferrari are just a joke. Don't rely on Ferrari for anything. Obviously, I mean, I forgot about the whole Ilmore tragedy. So, what's it? Mario Idiot is one of the founders, and I think the other guy who founded it was the guy who lost his life in a plane crash. Yeah, I just remembered one of the guys who founded the company, Mario Idiot. Of course, I don't know what's happened to him, whether he retired due to old age. That means Hulkenberg has gone down to 11th place. He's been lapped. Alonso is up to 9th. Ocon's up to 7th. Lawson up to 8th. Okay. Checking all the messages and the lap times. Oh, yeah, so Mercedes purchased 55% of Ilmore, yes. Yeah, but Ferrari are so unreliable, mate. Like, 17 years of bottle jobs, excuses, firing managers. Of course, how can I forget? Frederick Vasseur has left Spielberg and has returned home, apparently, because I think the team are indeed in the process of sacking Frederick Vasseur and putting him what they would call gardening leave. And I think that is it for Frederick Vasseur in his time in charge of Ferrari, which has only lasted about 2.5 years. Very poor. Very, very poor from the boys at Maranello. Just 2.5 years of Frederick Vasseur. I mean, by the way, they only had, what was it? Matteo Bonotto in charge of them for about 3.5 years before they decided to go for his throat as well. Always throwing people under the bus. That's all they ever do at Ferrari. Like, they had Marco Mattiacchi for like 6 months. Stefano Domenicali for 5 years before they threw him under the bus. They had Maurizio Arrivabene for 4 years, and they threw him under the bus. Let me just say this, Ferrari do not understand the meaning of the word continuity or stability. They just don't. They just point the finger at the wrong people, throw them under the bus, get them sacked. And it's a bit ironic that they've sacked him in what is actually arguably one of their best weekends so far this year, with Leclerc and Hamilton in a very tidy 3rd and 4th place, miles ahead of Russell's Mercedes. Oh yeah, obviously last week, the last race, from Russell and Kimi Antonelli 1st and 3rd. Although to be fair though, I think the safety car did help them out in parts during the race. They did have the fastest car at Montreal, which I think arguably one of only 2 weekends where McLaren failed to have the fastest car on the grid. I mean, I think it's safe to say Mercedes have got a very track-specific car. Like, I think when it comes to elevation changes and, like, fast, high-speed, downforce corners, then I think they struggle more, like we're seeing here at Austria. The gap between Norris and Piastri has now grown back to over 4 seconds, so Norris is actually managing the gap pretty well, surprisingly. Oh, right, Roger Penske has now taken over the other half of Ilmore, okay. I mean, I presume, don't Ilmore make engines for Chevrolet and IndyCar then? Because, of course, Chevrolet do run an IndyCar program. I don't know, I mean, maybe Ferrari are probably looking at what Matteo Binotto is doing at Sauber and thinking, why did we sack him? I don't really think, okay, sorry about that, John. Why did we get rid of Binotto? Because it's like, I think the amount of difference a team principal can make to a modern F1 team is a lot more negligible compared to what it used to be like 3 or 4 decades ago, when we had the likes of Ron Dennis running McLaren, Frank at Williams, and of course Flavio Briatore at Benetton. I mean, obviously Alpine have improved somewhat since Flavio returned, but probably not as much as before in the past. Okay, thank you, John. And look at that, Gasly's now stuck in 14th place, and he's only just set a personal best of a 10.15 on the medium tyres, which proves that strategy is a huge issue at Alpine. Am I going to continue doing race watch-alongs? Yes, I am, mate. Just because McLaren are dominating doesn't mean I'm going to give up that easily, because trust me, watching Mercedes dominate F1 between 14 and 2020 was frankly about as bad as it really got for me as an F1 fan. Like, I don't think I will ever enjoy anything as boring as watching Hamilton and Mercedes win race after race. Like, not even watching Schumacher, Vettel, or Verstappen was as mind-numbingly and as soul-destroying as watching Mercedes and Hamilton win every weekend. Yes, I do have great respect for Mercedes and Hamilton for what they achieved during those 7 years, but my word, was it... Good grief, like, there were races where I actually fell asleep, and it actually somewhat cured my own insomnia issues. Like, it got so... I could remember, like, I don't know. I know the 2018 Canadian Grand Prix was won by Sebastian Vettel, but I actually fell asleep halfway through that race. Like, I can't remember. I was watching the live feed, and I was watching Chazzer HD's live watch-along, and I just couldn't be bothered, and I fell asleep for, like, 30 laps straight. Like, I fell asleep for, like, 40 minutes, because it was that boring. It was just so boring. Like, nothing was going on. Hamilton was stuck in 5th. Raikkonen was stuck in 6th. Like, and he had no pace. And apparently Raikkonen was using an old power unit. So, Hamilton continues to drop behind Leclerc. He's gone almost a second and a half slower than Leclerc on the previous lap. He's really struggling for pace. And Leclerc's finally pitted. I think Hamilton will have to pit soon. We've got 21 laps to go. Okay, it's not the most eventful race, but it's still better than pretty much 85% of the races I saw between 2014 and 2020. Like, I don't mean to keep aiming shots at the Hamilton-Mercedes program, but... Oh, yeah, obviously we also had McLaren stinking out the place with that GP2 engine strapped to the rear of their car, and of course a certain angry Spanish double world champion throwing his toys out of the pram every other weekend, and in some cases retiring from races because he just couldn't tolerate the idea of fighting for 12th place. Bottas pits at long last, having done 28 laps on the medium tyres. That promotes Lawson up to 6th. Ocon up to 5th. My God. Oh my God. Where the hell's all this pace come from Haas? I mean, Ocon qualified 17th and now he's up to 5th place. Like, how would I hit a Haas so quick now all of a sudden? I think that just proves what a terrible job Ocon and Bearman did in qualifying, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, thankfully, Red Bull and Vettel only dominated about 2 years, 2011 and 2013, and we actually had some decent racing in the meantime, despite Vettel being so dominant. Because the V8 cars were actually quite raceable, and of course the performance advantage between most of the cars, except for Red Bull, was actually quite narrow between the likes of McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Lotus at the time. So it actually made for some good viewing despite Vettel being so dominant. And most crucially, Adrian Newey designing an amazing corner time. You feel like Honda electrocuted. Oh my. You feel like Honda electrocuted Alonso on purpose. Are you talking about the 2015 testing crash at Spain before in pre-season testing? Is that what you're talking about? Because I know there was a story where apparently there were some journalists who wrote stories that Alonso woke up and said that he was 14 years old and he was a kart driver who was aspiring to become an F1 driver or something funny like that. Riccardo Adami is going to get all sorts of flack again, but of course, I think if we're going to be truly honest, Ferrari are a joke. And the gap between Leclerc and Piastri is now 33 seconds. I mean, my God, how are Ferrari losing so much time here? They're just so slow. Ferrari are so slow, mate. Okay, I know Watson just done their second pit stop, but even in McLaren pit, they're going to be, 12 seconds ahead of Leclerc? That's terrible. That is just terrible. 2011 will always be Vettel's best season, yes. I mean, we're all watching the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix. I apologise if I'm not keen on talking about previous drivers, but I am in the middle of watching a race. We've got 18 laps remaining. Sorry, I just misread the screen, but Norris comes out of the pits. He is now, well, he's 16.9 seconds behind Piastri, but of course, Ferrari is still trying to take. Oh my God. Oh my word, that absolutely caught me off guard. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Red Bull are. Honestly, I know what's his name. Looney Classics on Chaz channel keeps saying, "Oh, Christian Horner is like the most valuable asset at Red Bull." But I'm like, yeah, but ever since Adrian Newey has departed, Red Bull have fallen off a cliff in performance, and yet he keeps insisting that Red Bull need to keep hold of Christian Horner, despite the fact Christian Horner is a team principal first and foremost. Yeah, well, unless Piastri can find an insane amount of lap times from somewhere, then yeah, Norris is going to win. Norris is clearly in the zone this weekend, having actually mentally gone over what happened at Canada pretty quickly. I have to say, Norris's temperament has actually improved somewhat because, yeah, he made a huge mistake at Canada, but it looks like he's already put that race behind him, which is a good sign to see. Because let's be truly honest, I think the only thing that's going to happen in the championship fight is the battle between Piastri and Norris for the title win. And if we want an entertaining season, it's most likely going to come from those two because, of course, Max is going to be, I don't know, 61 points beyond Piastri once this race as the checkered flag waved after lap 70. Yep, yeah, we're going to see another McLaren 1-2 at Silverstone. It's a shame. But I think Ferrari, despite the fact they've fallen out with Frederick Vasseur, can be very pleased with their weekend as Hamilton sets the fastest lap of an 8.6. Those medium tyres are looking very good, I have to say. Gasly is improving in terms of pace, but he's down in 13th and he's got both Salvers and both horses in front of him, so oh dear. Stroll pits again, who cares? Let me look at the order. Russell's overtaken Alonso for 7th. And Colapinto and Tsunoda are fighting hammer and tongue yet again, and Tsunoda gets his nose down front. And Tsunoda's given up, Tsunoda's been forced to give up P14 to the Argentine driver. Oh my lord, Yuki Tsunoda's F1 career is dying before our very eyes, folks. There's no way Yuki Tsunoda is going to be in F1 next season, and let's be truly honest. Yeah, honest to God, this Yuki Tsunoda is making the likes of Albon, Gasly, and Perez look like Senna, Prost, and Mansell in comparison to him. Oh, jeez, yeah. I mean, Tsunoda is at this rate. Tsunoda's going to win my wooden spoon of the year. Shocking driving from Yuki, who I know is frustrated, but my goodness me, man, why is he getting so angry and petulant like this? He's just destroying his career before our eyes. Like at this rate, not only will we not get a chance to go and race for Honda in the IndyCar series, he'll probably end up racing, I don't know, in the Honda Civic Championship back home in Japan if he carries on like this. Lawson's been having probably the best race of his whole career, like out of absolutely nowhere. Like loads of people have like disqualified Lawson from their driver rankings, and now he's pulling out an absolute blinder out here today in Spielberg for no reason apparently. And not only that, he's holding off a double world champion behind him, and he's chasing George Russell, a four-time Grand Prix winner. This is insanely good. Stroll. Yeah, thank you for stating the obvious there, Mr. Agora. We all know why Stroll's there. He is the only driver I've ever seen who somehow starts driving faster when the heavens start opening and it starts raining on the track. That is, the streets will never forget Lance Stroll. I'll say that because that guy makes no sense with his ability to outperform his car when it starts raining. It's just so weird. And I know people have said that his driving style would suit rally cars a lot more. And hell, he even did a rally car test recently about 3 months ago because of his ability to, I don't know, drive a car sideways at speed is quite remarkable. But of course, in F1, that sort of driving style doesn't make any sense because you are supposed to be driving around corners at least 110 miles an hour plus. As it is, Norris still maintains a 3.3 second lead over Piastri, but Piastri sets the fastest a set personal best at 8.7, but that's 2 tenths slower than Norris. So Norris sets a purple sector 2 though. 5-second penalty for Colapinto forcing Piastri off was being lapped. That's just stupid, mate. Can't say Hulkenberg's done a good race, but of course he's been helped out by all the. I mean, that's what I've been saying. I mean, what's it? Hulkenberg now overtakes Hadjar for P9. I mean, Sauber having a remarkably good day out of absolutely nowhere. I don't know what's going on. This is actually one of the strangest races I've seen in the season. Because we've had the likes of the Saubers in the points, and of course, a few laps ago before they pitted, the two horses were running in the points. Despite qualifying 15th and 17th. And Gasly, but unfortunately for Gasly, who qualified in the top 10, he's dropped to 13th thanks to a terrible strategy of deciding to switch on to hard tyres when the Alpine is absolutely awful on the hard tyres. I mean, I think a better strategy would have been I mean, Gasly started the race on the soft tyres. I mean, since he started the race on the soft tyres, he should have pitted under the safety car, gone onto the medium tyres, and then, I don't know, just keep using medium tyres for the rest of the race distance. Because if he'd done that, I think Gasly would have scored a point today, but Alpine have thrown it away by deciding to use hard tyres, which do not work that well for Alpine around this soft circuit. Once again, poor strategy has scuppered another points opportunity for Alpine, and honestly, Gasly, please leave this team. Like, even if Cadillac offer you a contract for next season, just say yes. Just get out. Get Alpine. I've had enough, mate. It's doing my head in watching you drive like this. And Piastri's now cutting the gap to Norris with just 11 laps remaining with a new fastest lap of a 7.924. We're a purple sector 1 and purple sector 2. Blimey, he's going very quickly in the system, McLaren. And we could look like we're about to get a grandstand finish. I apologise if I'm shouting too loud, but my God, I'm actually getting quite excited for once. I mean, Ferrari, Leclerc has now dropped 14.6 seconds behind Piastri. So, yeah, I mean, Ferrari continues. The worst thing about it is that this is actually Ferrari's best weekend of the year, but yet they're still, on average, about 0.3 of a second slower than McLaren in race pace. So, it's not much else to be said, I'm afraid, for the boys at Montreal. No repeat of last week of the Canadian Grand Prix. Yes, Kiefer, we understood what you mean, but my God, that's a purple stick to do there for Piastri, and once Hadjar is lapped, I think Piastri is going to make a late surge against Norris, and of course Piastri gets DRS, which is going to make Norris's life even worse, since of course he's now got Ocon in front of him to be lapped. Could Esteban Ocon get up to his tricks, his old tricks again, when of course he collided with Max Verstappen, the race leader at 2018 Brazil? Who knows, because we all know Ocon is one of the most unpredictable drivers out there on the grid. Oh, right, yeah, I know, Ocon overtook Hadjar, but that happened like 2 laps ago. But I've got to say, Hadjar's probably had his worst weekend of his F1 career, except for obviously the first one at Australia, where he crashed out on a formation lap. But I mean, since then he's actually been excellent. But this weekend it's been a bit of a steep learning curve for the young Frenchman. I am feeling a bit of excitement, yeah. The gap is now less than 2 seconds between the Briton and the Australian up front for first and second place. And both of them are on medium tyres that are less than 10 laps old. Meanwhile, the two Ferraris are separated by a gargantuan 8 seconds, which I mean for a driver like Hamilton is pretty poor. Continuing his 100% failure rate of failing to finish on the podium for Ferrari, as our friend Will F1 keeps telling us. Once again, no podiums for the 7-time world champion, who will be scratching his head at what is probably, arguably, one of the worst starts of his season he's had, along with 2022. And of course, let's be honest, the last time, the very worst start to a season he's ever had was obviously 2009, but that McLaren he drove in the start of the season as defending world champion was a piece of hot pot ruckus. Gap is now to 1.7 between Norris and the championship leader. Well, I will say this. 2011 started off well for Hamilton, but I think the second half of the year completely fell apart, and of course Button completely smashed him into oblivion, since he failed to adapt to the new Pirelli tyres that were introduced to the sport at the time, and Hamilton was apparently falling out with people in his personal life. Ocon is 10th, lapped, and of course Hulkenberg and Bottas will probably be lapped in the next 8 laps. So and Alonso has just lapped Tsunoda, who is running 16th and last in a very, very, well, frankly, the worst race I've ever seen Tsunoda produce in 5 years of F1. And we have to remember he started his F1 career off in 2021 being destroyed by none other than Gasly. So I think that should tell you everything about where Tsunoda must be, and I think at this point his psychological morale must be on the floor. Gap is now, okay, it's grown back to 1.9 between Norris and Piastri. I think Piastri is waiting for his moment. He's waiting for Norris to hesitate, whilst lapping Hulkenberg for Piastri to try and close the gap again. And then, of course, shortly afterwards, Bottas will be lapped. Rest of the order, Hadjar 11th, Bearman 12th, Ocon in 10th, in the last point position. Gasly and Colapinto both in 13th and 14th in a race where Gasly looked like a potential point scorer, but of course a 28 lap stint of hard tyres destroyed any hopes he had of getting a point. Colapinto, I don't know, Colapinto has had a scruffy race fighting with Tsunoda and getting a 5-second penalty. Stroll's in 15th, being an absolute waste of space as he always is. And of course, Tsunoda 16th and last place, and frankly, he's probably destroyed his reputation for God, to be honest, in this absolute disaster class of a weekend for the boys at Red Bull, who of course lost Max Verstappen in a first lap incident with Kimi Antonelli of Mercedes. Carlos Sainz retired on the formation lap thanks to brake fire, and Albon also retired early on in the race due to another mechanical issue with a double DNF for the boys at Williams. Okay, Lando's got a bit of damage on his front wing. Okay, I don't know what's happened there. Both McLarens have now lapped Hulkenberg. Piastri, I think, is playing the waiting game. He is keen to avoid making the same error Norris did at the last race in Canada. So the gap remains less than 2 seconds. And I think Norris is waiting for Norris to hesitate whilst lapping Bottas. And of course, it looks like Tsunoda could be going 2 laps down because he's been lapped by Lawson and Alonso. I think I can only tell you how bad things are going for Yuki right now. We've only got 5 laps remaining. It's hotting up. It is now just 1.9 seconds between Piastri and Norris for the race lead. If Norris wins today, this will only be his 3rd win of the season, but if Piastri can overtake Norris, it will be his 6th win of the season, and my goodness me, he will probably rubber stamp his #1 status at McLaren. Just so you know, Norris was trailing Piastri by 22 points coming into this weekend. Thank you for 18 people watching and 8 likes. Very successful stream today. Thank you very much. Just so you know, Ocon's in 10th, Hadjar's in 7th. Hello there, Yannick Muller, Lando Norris. Yes, he is the race leader. We have 4 laps remaining, I beg your pardon, here at Spielberg. I don't know, but laps are beginning to run out for Piastri, and I think if Piastri really wants to try and win this race, he's got to really find a bit of lap time now, but I think his medium tyres are beginning to deteriorate slightly, as both McLarens just did exactly the same lap time at 9.0. Yeah, obviously, Aston Martin do have a massive problem with Lance Stroll as the number 2 driver. I don't really need to say any more about Lance Stroll in general. The Orange Army is probably rooting for Lando. Yeah, Max fans are probably rooting for Lando because, of course, Piastri is leading the championship, understandably so. Yeah, hello there, Yannick Muller. Yes, this is the 75th anniversary of the F1 World Championship's first race at the British Grand Prix coming up next weekend. Of course, the first ever race in 1950, the British Grand Prix, held at the same track, Silverstone, was won by Giuseppe Farina after the Fangio's car broke down. Both of them driving for Alfa Romeo. Of course, Alfa Romeo left F1. I think it was Yeah, I think it was in 2023 when the Alfa Romeo Sauber partnership ended. And I think you are not the only one to be advocating for Felipe Drugovich getting a promotion to Aston Martin. I beg your pardon, Drugovich. Yeah, I mean, he's been on the sideline for 2.5 years as their test driver. And I think, what the hell do Aston Martin have to lose by promoting Felipe Drugovich? Because, of course, Lance Stroll's short run of form has already ended. So, I mean, we've all been saying this for 2 years now, but we all know Lance Stroll is there because of his dad and nothing else. We have got Now just 2 laps remaining of the Austrian Grand Prix. It is gripping, it is intense. And Norris has lapped Tsunoda again for a second time. Very successfully, mind you, as Tsunoda has very much given up the ghost, realising he's just a blockade. And Bottas overtakes Alonso for 7th. Yeah, Bottas actually got the run up. Alonso retakes P7 on the run down to turn 4. We've got a proper fight here between the Aston and the Sauber, but Alonso keeps hold of P7 ahead of the Brazilian rookie. His own driver from his own management company. He's fighting his own driver, Fernando Alonso. Unreal stuff between the 2 cars in green. Oh boy! Could we see a collision between Alonso and Bottas? Oh dear, but of course Bottas is now being given a blue flag. On what a shame. We've got less than just over 1 lap to go, and I think Bottas is going to have to settle for P8. I don't think Alonso nor Bottas want to collide with each other, because my goodness me, what an awkward meeting that would be between Alonso, who is a driver himself, but is also a driver manager of another driver. Make that make sense. But Norris is obviously has now put a lap down on Alonso, and Piastri, well, what the hell's going on? Is Alonso trying to lap himself? Yeah, Piastri's chances of winning are pretty much gone, to be honest, unless Norris does something hilariously wrong, which I don't think he will. Tsunoda, 2 laps down. What a proper Hall of Shame performance there by the Japanese driver. And I'm afraid to say it, I think I'm going to have to disqualify Tsunoda from my driver rankings, because this is just an absolute... That was just an absolute pile of trash from the 25-year-old. Norris wins the race. Piastri second. Leclerc in 3rd place. Well, he still hasn't crossed the line yet on my screen. Such is the pace advantage of McLaren. I mean, he's going to finish 25 seconds behind. Bearman will finish 11th, 1 lap down. Alonso, Bottas, Hulkenberg, and Ocon 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Hamilton 4th. Hadjar down in 12th. Gasly 13th. Stroll in 14th as he overtakes Colapinto for 14th. Colapinto 15th, Tsunoda 16th, and Russell and Lawson are still yet to finish the race, everyone. But of course, Russell has a 5-second gap over the RB driver. Russell, the race winner last time out in Canada, will finish a disappointing 5th place. Lawson, though, will celebrate a career best finish at 6th place for the Kimi driver, having been under so much scrutiny this season. He's got 8 points. And the constructor standing, I have no idea what that looks like, because that's 6 points for Sauber, 8 points for RB. Yeah, I don't know. That's I think RB might have overtaken Haas to 7th. And there's only 1 point for Haas, mind you, and of course it's 6 points for Aston Martin. But of course, one thing I do know for certain is that Alpine are now in a very distant 10th place, with Gasly scoring all 11 of their points so far in a shockingly poor start to the season for the boys in blue. And with no more Esteban Ocon at the team, I've got to say it, and the fact they're now just relying on paid drivers in the second seat, I think Alpine are very much sunk to the bottom of the grid, and deservedly so, because they are garbage, and I've had enough of them. I am seriously angry with Alpine, mind you. My God, honestly, I'm so done with that team. But congratulations to Lando Norris and McLaren. Yet another win for the season. That is now 8 wins out of 11 races for the boys in Papayon. Congratulations to you, John. Yeah, the gap is now only 15 points between Piastri and Norris for the championship lead, but more crucially, Max Verstappen, after being eliminated on lap 1 after colliding with Kimi Antonelli, a 61 point. Max is now 61 points behind the Australian Oscar Piastri in the championship standings. And my God, Alpine, sell your team ASAP. Get the hell out of F1. Get out of this sport, mate. If you cannot provide Pierre Gasly a fast car and a pit crew who know how to do strategy properly, just go. Just leave. Don't ever come back. The only person from that Alpine pit wall that deserves to stay on for whoever the new owners will be is Flavio Briatore. And Flavio's 75 years old. Like, if a 75-year-old is your best team staff member, then that should tell you everything about how rubbish you are. Like, apart from him, the rest of the team are absolutely incompetent. It's quite a damning indictment of Alpine that the 75-year-old is their best employee outside of Gasly. Gasly and Briatore are the two best things that are going for Alpine. And that's it. I'm done. Just sell your team now. Sell Alpine now, Renault. Sell it. ASAP. Go. Rubbish. Absolute garbage. You are doing my head in. But yeah, Lando Norris says actually, I know some people are going to cringe, but I think Lando Norris deserves an A star from me because he actually, okay, I know he picked up a bit of front wing damage, but he picked up pole position, he led the start of the race, never ever got overtaken by Piastri for position at any point, and was always net P1, so yeah, well done to him. Piastri, it's an A-, did, okay, go out qualified by Leclerc, which is a very poor result, I'm sorry, but he did what he could. But Norris was the better driver on the day. Leclerc, A grade. Yeah, I think of the moaning Yorkshireman cruel room, yeah, Sauber deserved 20 points out of 10 for me. But I don't do team rankings here, so never mind about that. Russell, okay, Hamilton gets a B grade. Okay performance, but he got battered by Leclerc again. 5th place, Russell, I'll give him an A-. Did everything he could in a pretty slow Mercedes this weekend. Lawson, yeah, I'm going to give him an A-. Yeah, it's an A* for you, Lawson. Proved everyone wrong. Finally did something outstandingly good. 7th place, Alonso, B grade. Did all he could in an Aston Martin. Bottas, he gets an A grade for me. Outstanding performance. Qualifying 8th. In qualifying, finishing 8th. And he even was the 5th fastest car in Q2. But by the way, impressive all-round performance by the Brazilian rookie. Championship standings, Piastri leads Norris by 15 points, and he is indeed 61 ahead of Verstappen, and he is now 70 points ahead of Russell. I mean, Russell's actually closed the gap to Verstappen to just 9 points, so Verstappen is, yeah, I think it's done and dusted for Verstappen. And, well, in the constructor standings, well, yeah, McLaren 207 points ahead of Ferrari, who are now just overtaken Mercedes for 2nd place again. And, oh dear, Red Bull remained planted on just 162 points, whilst Racing Bulls have climbed up to 6th place with 36 points, thanks to Lawson's brilliant result. Tossed down to 7th with 29 points. Aston Martin remain in 8th place, but they have 28 points, and Kick Sauber have 26 points in 9th place, whilst Alpine are now in a very lonely 10th place with just 11 points for the season. Shockingly bad. Shockingly bad. And Colapinto has done has made no improvements on anything that Jack Doe was doing when he was at the team. Like, what was the point of removing Jack Doe? And, like, I don't get it. Like, no continuity in the number two seat Alpine. Like, I know Dohan is not exactly the next big thing, but neither is Colapinto. No matter how loud his Argentine fans are on social media, they can bugger off for all I care. Because Gasly has still got his number. apart from an occasional bad qualifying performance here and there and everywhere. But yeah, I mean, Franco Colapinto is just so overrated, and all 11 points have come from Gasly for the season, which is, gotta say it, I think Alpine. I mean, the thing with Alpine is that they're desperately. I mean, Renault are desperately trying to sell Alpine onto another seller, but allowing Ocon to join Haas like they did is a bad mistake by them, because obviously Haas would probably be. I think Haas would probably be in last place, and I think Alpine would probably be sitting in 8th place in the constructors' standings, maybe 7th place if they had kept hold of Ocon. But of course, I'm not sure whether Alpine have got the budget to run 2 competitive cars at this point. So, wow, that's absolutely shocking by the French-owned team who are based in Enstone. Just makes you think how well Colapinto did at Williams last year. Makes you wonder though, like, was that because Albon was having his poor run of form for about 4 or 5 races that Colapinto looked? I say this, did it make him look like a good driver? I don't know. Rest of the drivers, I think Hulkenberg gets a B grade because, well, he qualified 20th, so I mean he made his race day a lot harder to get more points. I mean, I know Carlos Sainz had an offer to join Alpine, but I think everyone now can see what a mess Alpine are in F1. Ocon, oh god, do I have to give a good grade? Yeah, I have to. B grade for Ocon, well done. B grade for Bearman for out-qualifying Ocon. C minus for Hadjar, very disappointing weekend. C grade for Gasly, having his race ruined by Alpine's incompetent pit war. D minus for Stroll. D grade for Colapinto for colliding with Tsunoda. F grade for Tsunoda, and I have to say this, I think he is now one more F grade away from being disqualified for God. I can't really give the bottom 4 drivers, Albon, Verstappen, Antonelli, or Sainz any points or any grades because they didn't really have much of a race, so that's very unfortunate to say. Alpine screwed Gasly today. Frustrating stuff. I mean, please put in the chat who do you think your driver of the day was. I have gone for Lando Norris because, you know, we've seen Lando Norris, you know, crumble under pressure, get upset when he makes a mistake. But this time round, he put Canada to the back of his mind and he produced a perfect race weekend. Pole position, stayed in front of Piastri, led the race throughout whenever he could lead the race, and a well-deserved 25 points for the British driver, who is now only 15 points behind his Australian teammate, and his championship is back on track. But I've got to give a shout out to Lawson and Bottas. I mean, Lawson has also proved quite a few critics wrong, including one of my followers here on this channel. I'm looking at you, John. Got to give credit where credit's due for Liam Lawson, and of course, credit to Bottas for really finally announcing himself as an F1 driver, because I have to say, I always had that. I was a bit concerned by his slow start to the season, looking a bit intimidated by having Hulkenberg as a teammate, if I'm going to be truly honest. Thank you for 8 likes here at Crystal Racing. I'm going to see any updates we've got through the F1 channel. Of course, next weekend, we've got the British Grand Prix. My home race weekend. Congratulations to the boys at Sauber. Great race at what is basically their home track here, since they do have their team based in Switzerland next door. And of course, they've done plenty of test sessions around this track, so obviously they know the track inside in, inside out. Congrats to this man, Lando, once again. Perfect job under massive pressure with his reputation on the line. And despite coming close to crashing in the race, Alonso congratulates his own personal driver, Bottas, who of course is a member of the Alonso driver management group. And I think Bottas, realising it was Fernando Alonso in front of him for P7, realised it was much better to avoid crashing into his own manager, which would have been one hell of an awkward scene and would have led to, no doubt, all sorts of memes online mocking him.
Yeah, sorry for the overturn fault. My bad.
Well done, mate. Well done. Great job.
Yeah, well done, everyone. Beautiful 1-2. Car was great. Nice. Thanks, everyone. Amazing work. Let's keep it up.
I agree, mate. Follow the process.
Client versus manager, yeah, I mean, that's the first time I've seen a client battle his own manager in a race. That is, but then of course, Alonso is a pensioner still racing in F1, mind you. Congrats to Sauber, congrats, I want to say congrats to Alonso, but not Aston Martin. Okay, that's interesting. Very backhanded way of saying Aston Martin are trash. Hold up, I thought you were going to give Yuki until the end of the season. Yeah, but I've got to say it. Yuki Tsunoda's been an absolute disaster. That if I'm going to be honest, like considering how much criticism I gave Gasly, Albon, and Perez when they were at Red Bull, I am absolutely mystified and shocked at how useless Yuki Tsunoda has been. Like, he's basically turned into like Nicholas Latifi / Nikita Mazepin at Red Bull. Like, oh my word, I'm sorry, and I think if he repeats these sort of performances again at Silverstone, Hungary, and Spa, then he's going to be heading for disqualification. And it's not because I have an agenda against him or hate him, but it's just, dude, the guy is absolutely doing nothing of note. He's not even scoring a point or two like Gasly and Albon were. Like, at least Gasly and Albon were fighting for points here and there, but, and obviously Albon got 2 podiums when he was at the team. Gasly finished 4th, 5th, and 6th, whatever he called. Perez obviously won a few races. Yuki Tsunoda is just miles away from even scoring a point. It's just a disaster. It's been a not unmitigated disaster for young Yuki Tsunoda, I'm afraid. I mean, this is the other problem. Like, at this point, we also have to talk about Yuki Tsunoda's well-being. Like, there's no way Yuki Tsunoda is, like, mentally holding up with his performances being this bad. And, like, I think for his own mental well-being, he's probably begging the team to demote him straight back to RB because he just stinks in the senior Red Bull car. Like, but the problem is, of course, Red Bull probably risk doing the same thing to Hadjar if they promote him in his place. And, of course, we all know Lawson struggled in the first 2 races, so... Oh, yeah, I know, Law VS... It's doing a vlog in Austria right now, which is obviously very interesting to see because we don't often see F1 YouTubers head out to F1 weekends because of how expensive it is to attend an F1 race these days. Not that it's ever been cheap, but my goodness me, it is so much more expensive now than it was like 2 or 3 decades ago. And yeah, thank you for 10 likes there at Crystal Racing. 11 likes, 12 likes. Blimey, the likes are popping out of nowhere. This is your final race order. There are no investigations currently under place. And I have to agree with you, John. I did sit there and think about this during the past weekend that I think despite Perez having all his problems in qualifying last season, I mean, it would have been better off having him for another year because Yuki and Lawson were never going to be the solution to Red Bull's number 2 seat problems. Never. I mean, obviously, like, I know some people have argued against me on Twitter that Ricciardo wanted to leave despite the improved pay offer. But they really should have kept Perez on. Like, I know, obviously, Red Bull were very angry and disappointed. Herbert Marko was blasting Perez quite hard last season, but deep down, like, Perez is, like, the only suitable number 2 they have because, of course, with no Adrian Newey at the team to help them out in the technical matters, like, Max Verstappen no longer has a teammate to back him up when it comes to technical feedback, because Perez was also very heavily responsible for developing the Red Bull for the past 4 seasons now, because, of course, just like Bottas, Kimi Raikkonen, and Mark Webber, and a couple of Barrichello and other number 2 drivers in the past, they knew how to set up a car, they knew how to technical feedback, they knew how to solve car issues, because obviously it was okay. Yeah, they're not as fast as a Schumacher, Vettel, Alonso, whatever it is. They do have a sixth sense for like car handling issues that very few other drivers, particularly in the midfield like Yuki Tsunoda, lack. And I think Yuki Tsunoda is just driving that car completely dumbfounded at what's wrong with it. Not only is he slow, he just can't work out what to do. I mean, obviously, no, we're not going to see Hamilton and Max paired up. Hell, we're definitely never going to see, we are not going to see Russell or Max Verstappen become teammates either, because those two are just too aggressive to be teammates and too alpha. Yeah, I think Tsunoda is definitely out of his depth, but I have to say this, I don't think I think Yuki Tsunoda will be forced to leave F1 at the end of the season, because I think Honda are going to have to, like, I don't know. I know I did say that Tsunoda could well go to IndyCar because Takuma Sato is now just a part-time driver, but I'm not sure what sort of IndyCar teams would want to take on Yuki Tsunoda after this season if things do not improve. And I think Yuki Tsunoda, if he was to ever go to the States, would have to go on a part-time deal for the first 2 years, because I think his temperament is a bit lacking, and his driving and his lack of adaptability is beginning to get exposed. But then, of course, I think I've had these concerns about Yuki Tsunoda back when he joined F1 in 2021 when he was getting battered by Gasly. Colapinto, yeah, I'm not shocked at that. I knew Colapinto was overrated, and I was well aware of the fact that he only outpaced Alex Albon, because Alex Albon was for some reason struggling with last year's Williams. So, but of course, once Alex Albon got back on top of the Williams, I mean, it was back to Albon being team leader again. So, I mean, Honda are going to have to... I mean, the other thing with Honda is that you did say that there were rumours that Honda wanted to leave IndyCar after 2026. So, if that's true, then I think we probably won't see Tsunoda ever go to IndyCar. And he'll probably end up driving, like, in some Honda Civic, I don't know, spec car series in Japan for the rest of his days if he wants to go there. Oh dear, I mean, I don't think Honda have any sort of sports car program, because of course we all know Honda spend the rest of their resources on their MotoGP program and their superbike teams. So yeah, I mean, whilst obviously Honda can be a route to F1 in comparison to Toyota, where of course all Toyota have is their technical partnership with Haas, with of course Ritoma Miyata in F2, but I've got to say it, Ritoma Miyata is already 26 years old and he does look a million miles away from F1 material. You can always get the chance to go and drive for Toyota's sports car team in Le Mans, and of course their NASCAR team and their WRC program. So, yeah, I mean, Toyota actually have far more things on offer. Of course, Yuki could go to Acura. I think that's the IMSA program, surely. So, yeah. Given how bad Lance has been recently, I've removed Hamilton from my top 5 drivers this season. Okay, fair enough. Although, of course, there's always the Japanese Super Formula Championship back home as well. So I think, obviously, I mean, Yuki will probably go to Super Formula instead. I completely forgot about that series. But I think after a couple of years, I think if he was to dominate that championship, then he'll probably be, I don't know, he'll probably get a chance at IndyCar then. I think the problem with Yuki Tsunoda is that he made a jump to Europe quite early on. He only raced in Formula 3 and Formula 2 for a couple of years before making his break in F1. So, I don't know. I mean, he only came to Europe when he was 19 years old, by the way. So, and made his F1 debut just a couple of years later. Hello to 24 people watching. I hope you're doing well here at Crystal Racing. This is the race has finished. Norris, Piastri. Norris cuts the gap to Piastri to just 15 points. Leclerc is now almost a century of points behind Piastri as Max Verstappen was eliminated on lap 1 after colliding with Kimi Antonelli and terminal damage forced both drivers to return to sport. Max is now 61 points behind the Australian Championship leader, and I have to say it, Max needs a huge miracle in his favour to win the championship this season if he wants any hopes of becoming the youngest 5-time F1 World Champion in history, as well as the youngest 5-time consecutive series winner in F1 history. Yeah, Lawson, that's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know, mate. After today's performance, I think Lawson might be given second consideration in my book. I think I would replace Lawson with Zhou for now, because Zhou obviously has been thrown to the sidelines, but I will also say this. I don't think any driver, most drivers of the grid have actually been driving pretty well this season, but if we're talking full-time drivers, and I know this might be a bit harsh, I think I would replace maybe Bearman in place of Lawson, but of course Bearman is still a rookie, he's still developing, so yeah. I don't think Bearman's done anything wrong apart from a couple of poor qualifying performances, but that's it. Hello there, Jack Napier. Well, he just finished 6th today. Although, of course, it has to be said, Isaac Hadjar has had a bad weekend, so it remains to be seen where Liam Lawson really weighs up against Hadjar and the rest of the grid at this point in time, so I think that's a bit of a bold comment to make about Lawson, considering he's just pulled out one of his best weekends of the whole season. His whole career, to be brutally honest. Russell will be, and Mercedes will be very bitterly disappointed to finish 5th. Ferrari are rumoured to be on the verge of sacking Frederic Vasseur, who of course has withdrawn from this weekend and has returned home, and I presume he's probably been put on gardening leave. Yeah, I mean, I think the drivers have really stuck out as being really poor for me, though. I've got to be Tsunoda and Sainz. Those two have got to be the bottom two for me. They've been shocking. I mean, Carlos Sainz, I'm actually arguably the most surprised at how poor Carlos Sainz has been, because honestly, I thought Carlos Sainz would narrowly be leading Albon in the driver's standings by now, but Albon has had no problems dismantling Carlos Sainz in both qualifying and in race performance. And, you know, I mean, it probably makes sense why Carlos Sainz is so desperate to get those Hackett, L'Oreal, and Duracell endorsement deals, because if he does not improve, then, like, we could be having conversations about whether Carlos Sainz could be in F1 in the next 2 or 3 years at this rate, because with quite a lot of decent young drivers in the waiting, like Arvid Lindblad for the Red Bull Junior program, and Gabriel Mini at Alpine's Junior program, and who else? I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Alex Dunn at McLaren. Alex Dunn producing a great performance in free practice this weekend. Although, of course, Alex Dunn did get involved in that silly pile-up at Monaco a month ago. Yeah, I mean, the world of F1 has no patience for Carlos Sainz, and I have to say, Carlos Sainz's reputation has taken a huge knock this season, a real knock, and I think, you know, I think Pierre Gasly and Ocon might get a second chance at a better team, because, you know, they've been stuck at Alpine for the past few years, and Alpine have been seriously underperforming, so Carlos Sainz is under real pressure, and I would not be surprised if Carlos Sainz doesn't improve in the next 18 months. We could well be seeing a four-time Grand Prix winner pretty much turfed out of the sport within just 2 years of winning the Mexican Grand Prix last year. 29 people watching. Very impressive stuff. I mean, probably one of my most watched videos of well, pretty much the last 18 months. Thank you very much to everyone. And after next weekend's British Grand Prix, we would have already completed 50% of the 2024 season. But as it is, Williams have completed a double DNF after brake failure for Carlos Sainz and Albon also succumbing to mechanical issues. And Andrea Stella has come out stating that there will not be team orders. And I think with Max Verstappen's retirement, I think this will be a free fight till the end of the season, since McLaren do not believe in a number one, number two driver hierarchy, like has always been the case at McLaren throughout the years. And of course, Williams were very similar back in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. There are now many drivers under pressure, including Hamilton himself. I don't know. Hamilton, I mean, I think Hamilton's definitely the shout for the worst 5 drivers on many people's lists. Not mine, but, I mean, he's been very poor. He's been very poor.
And the Grand Prix!
Let's just watch this again. Copyright struck for this. Leclerc, what a slow start he had. Just looked like he was driving a snowball lorry. God, look at the gap McLaren pulled out. Oh, down the inside. Oh, that was Kimi Antonelli. Went for one head of an ambitious move, and that was it for Max. Max was a helpless victim at turn 3, and I think Kimi Antonelli probably deserves a couple of penalty points in his license, because that was just bang out of order by the 18-year-old Italian. Got a lot to learn, I'm afraid, Kimi. Cannot be doing stuff like that. Kimi Antonelli, I think I'm going to have to give him an F, I'm afraid, for that stunt. Very uncharacteristic error, although, of course, he did overshoot the start at the Miami sprint race, so, okay, he's still got stuff to learn, but I'm sorry, Kimi. You cannot be pulling out maneuvers like that. Not acceptable at this level. This is not Formula 2 anymore, my sunshine. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, I know the sort of people will probably rate Hamilton in the bottom 5 of their list are probably Hamilton haters more than anything else, so, yeah, I mean, Hamilton has been directly behind Leclerc, but Sainz has just been nowhere at times. Like, Albon has just battered him in his face, like, you know, a boxer just, like, you know when you watch an MMA fight, like, you know, Conor McGregor versus BJ Penn, and it's just Conor McGregor smashing BJ Penn in the skull. That's literally Alex Albon versus Carlos Sainz right now. It's just one-way traffic at Williams. It's just, and I've got to say it, James Vowell must be horrifically disappointed in Carlos Sainz. Like, and I do wonder whether Carlos Sainz might actually be getting distracted by his, you know, his sponsorship deals with Hackett, L'Oreal, and Duracell, because, I mean, is racing a priority for Carlos Sainz, or is he just really struggling? Because this is really worrying now for the 4-time Grand Prix winner, of course. I mean, I know, and this is the funny thing, is that Carlos Sainz was so good against Leclerc when they were teammates at Ferrari, but yet Carlos Sainz looks lost at Williams. Like, it seems to be the way the car's set up, designed. It's very much leaning heavily towards Albon's style of driving, which, yeah, fair enough. But, I mean, Albon's a quick driver, but I would expect a lot more from Sainz. I thought Sainz was an adaptable driver who was a bit like, I don't know, a David Coulthard at least. I don't know, mate. I think Yuki Tsunoda's career is gonna implode this year, I'm afraid. It's really sad because Yuki was pretty good in his last 2 seasons at RB. racing balls, but then of course we have to realise De Vries and Ricciardo were pretty bad. But even though Yuki was improving, I think the fact they felt like they needed Ricciardo to return on a full-time basis is probably an indictment of Yuki Tsunoda's car development skills and team leadership skills, I'm afraid, which I think is another thing that's probably going to be another red flag to Yuki Tsunoda's name. It's sad. I mean, you were absolutely 100% correct saying that Carlos Sainz is going to probably start deteriorating, and you actually are right. I don't know whether you were saying it in jest, but he's actually gone off the rails this year, which is a huge surprise. Although Fernando Alonso is now actually beginning to improve again. So one driver is proof that form is temporary, class is permanent. The other one is proof that he's pretty much been living off having about, I don't know, 6 good seasons in F1, which is Carlos Sainz, because of course 2 good years at McLaren, 4 decent seasons at Ferrari, but you know, he obviously did well at Toro Rosso, particularly during 2016 and 17 when he destroyed and obliterated Danny Kvyat for God. I don't know, Carlos Sainz is beginning to look like an empty vessel at this point. I don't know, mate. I mean, the other thing, I think obviously the driver team moves has affected a lot of Sainz and Hamilton and Yuki, definitely. But I think the other problem Hamilton has is that he is now 40 years old. And the thing is, he was showing signs of deterioration in terms of his qualifying pace in the past 2 years against Russell. And against a driver like Leclerc, who has improved his racecraft and his race pace, it's just, I don't think Hamilton will ever get the better of Leclerc, I'm afraid, at this point. And I think Hamilton is just going to have to see out the rest of his contract, see out the rest of his career at Ferrari, and just admit he's past his best. Although having said that, though, to be beaten narrowly by Leclerc every weekend is not that bad if you think about it, but it's a bit of a disappointing end for Hamilton. It's like he's entering that Michael Schumacher stage of his career where he's been paired up with a younger, faster driver like Nico Rosberg, and he just can't deal with Nico Rosberg's superior qualifying pace. Well, Lance Stroll has never really cared about F1 from day one, so we're not really shocked there. And then, of course, Franco Colapinto's never won a junior title at any level, so it's not really a surprise that Colapinto's getting found out. I mean, the only reason why he's there is because he brings a lot of sponsorship money from Argentina, who, of course, have not had a full-time F1, have not had any F1 driver there since 2001, with Gaston Massacane stinking out the place for Minardi and Prost, getting out-qualified by the likes of Marc Genet and John Alesi by about an average of 2 seconds a lap. So the desperation is real down there in South America. Although, of course, Gabriel Bortoleto is doing justice to Brazil's name, on the other hand, getting his first points finish in 8th place, and, of course, his best qualifying result in P8 as well, and being the 5th fastest car in Q2. The future is looking quite bright for the reigning Formula 2 and Formula 3 champion Gabriel Bortoleto down at Sauber. Colapinto, on the other hand, is also probably destroying his own reputation as well, along with Yuki Tsunoda. So, Ocon, well, Norris won the race. Like, give Norris a bit of credit. I mean, even though Ocon, did well to get 10th place, I mean, well, I mean, he's doing the bare minimum of what I expected, beating Bearman, who's a rookie. I mean, he's had a couple of good races, like in China, where he got P5 after disqualifications with both Ferraris, and, of course, a few cars dropping out. I can't remember where the other race he did well at. Was it Canada last time out? But really, I mean, in a sense, though, when you think about it, leaving Haas, but not leaving Alpine was always going to be a no-brainer, because, of course, Alpine, I mean, Renault are keen to sell Alpine onto someone else, but yet they just don't seem to be able to find anyone interested in buying the team, because, I don't know, I mean, Cadillac, are going to set up their own team for next season, making it 11 teams on the grid. So, and Prema have gone to IndyCar racing, so they're not going to take over. I don't know. I mean, I can't think of any prospective buyers for Alpine right now, or Renault, shall I say, because that's who they really are. Because of course, Alpine are just basically a rebranded Renault team where they're just there to promote their luxury car brand at this point in time. I mean, I don't know whether Toyota might be interested, but Toyota, I've got a technical partnership with Haas, so I think Toyota are probably more likely to take over Haas more than anything else. So yeah, I mean, Alpine, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we might, well, I mean, I really don't want to see a situation where we end up seeing Team Enstone being shut down for good because Alpine can't find a buyer, but until we can find someone willing to buy the team who's of a good standing, who's like a responsible businessman, then I think Alpine, I don't know, I don't think we're going to see much of Alpine after 2027 or 28 at this rate. I am ready for F1 fanatic fans to call it, oh, whatever, mate. We've all called him out. It's not just, we're just repeating the same thing. I think we need to look at the driver standings now at long last. I know some people have been waiting for me to finally the F1 World Championship standings is here. I don't know how to rate Bearman's yet. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how to rate his season either, to be honest, at this point, because he is a rookie. But I think in the case of Yuki Tsunoda, the reason why I'm being very harsh on him, because this is his 5th year. I mean, you know, Chaz has been criticising Hulkenberg, but for me, how on earth Tsunoda can't even score points? He scored, 7 points earlier on in the season for Red Bull, but that's it. I mean, he started okay at Bahrain, Miami, and Imola, but since Imola, he's been absolutely hopeless. Hello there, Musa. Hope you're having a fantastic day here. This is the championship standings. Piastri ahead of Norris by just 15 points. I hope you're doing fantastically well here, Musa. Welcome to Crystal Racing. Welcome to the community here. 11 likes, 30 people watching. Like, subscribe, comment, share the video onto Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, onto YouTube. Max Verstappen, having taken his first DNF of the season after a first lap collision with Antonelli, is now 61 points behind Piastri. And that is a huge dent in Verstappen's hopes of becoming the sport's youngest 5-time champion and the youngest 5-time consecutive champion, because of course he is going to turn 28 years old at the end of this season. And of course the only driver to have ever become a 5-time champion, Michael Schumacher, accomplished the feat at the age of 35 years old 21 years ago when he became a 7-time champion in 2004 Belgian Grand Prix for the famous Scuderia Ferrari team. Only one place ahead of Fnac. Oh my goodness me. Do you think Can Max Verstappen do a Kimi Raikkonen 2007? Okay, let's think about it. Kimi Raikkonen was 26 points behind Hamilton after 7 races in 2007 when there were 17 races. He overcame that disadvantage in 10 races. Max Verstappen is 61 points behind Oscar Piastri with 11 races completed and 13 races remaining. 61 points is, I think, the equivalent of about, I don't know, 25 points gap under the old point system that we had between 2003 and 2009, where there was 10 points for a win, 8 points for second, 6 for third, down to 1 point for 8th place. I mean, we have to remember Kimi Räikkönen benefited from a massive implosion mid-season from McLaren, where, of course, Fernando Alonso blackmailed the team, sent a bunch of emails revealing the fact that Mike Coughlin had been handing over car details to... No, I beg your pardon, no. Nigel Stepney from Ferrari handed over car details and private documents to McLaren's Mike Coughlin, and Mike Coughlin went to a photocopying shop, and the owner of the photocopying shop found out about the scandal. Honest to God, this is really unlikely that we're going to see Max Verstappen do a Kimi Räikkönen 2007, to be honest. He needs a miracle to head his direction. We had McLaren did come under fire at Spain, where they were given a technical directive where they were forced to restrict the movement of their front wings at Spain. But of course, at Spain, they finished first and second again, as always, and Max finished down in 10th after banging wheels for George Russell, although of course Max Verstappen and Red Bull, for some bizarre reason, decided to put Max Verstappen on hard tyres for the last 6 laps, when arguably it would have been better for Red Bull to keep Max out on his old medium or soft tyres and potentially try and gamble for either a race win or a podium finish in a round where Piastri and Norris finished. Obviously, I think what happened at Spain has definitely costed Max a big time in a race where, had he stayed out, I think he could have finished third, which would have given him at least 14 more points. But instead, because he was on hard tyres, he fell behind Leclerc pretty quickly. He then got shoved off the road by Russell. Max, in retaliation, after being infuriated by his engineers, demands to return P4 to George Russell, then pushed George Russell off the road, and then of course the FIA gave him a 10-second penalty, which dropped him down to 10th place in Spain. So that's 14 points he lost there, and then of course to top it all off, his collision with Kimi Antonelli arguably costed him another 10 points, finishing, because of course George Russell finished 5th from where he probably would have finished, so that's 24 points that Max lost. So, I mean, really, had it not been for Kimi Antonelli and his team idea of using hard tyres at Spain, along with Max's brain fade when he collided with Russell, I mean, Max could be actually only 37 points behind Piastri, but I think the problem is, as we saw in the race itself, I mean, on average, I think McLaren's fastest lap pace was about 0.4 of a second quicker than what they had over Ferrari, and about probably 0.7 of a second quicker than what they had over Mercedes. And Red Bull are not anything better than the third or fourth fastest car on the grid at this point in time. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have high hopes of Max Verstappen at this point, being 61 points behind. Even though, there's 13 races remaining, I just don't see McLaren making the same mistake they made 18 seasons ago now. So I don't think you'll do a Vettel 2012, because, of course, 2010 and 2012, Red Bull had the fastest car on the grid, much faster than what Ferrari had, who only had the third or fourth best car, and of course faster than what McLaren, Mercedes and Lotus were offering. So yeah, I mean, the only way Max can climb back into the championship fight if Red Bull were to massively improve their cars, pace, drivability, handling and all whatnot, because I mean, in the hands of Yuki Tsunoda, he's only scored 7 points in the second seat since joining the team for Japan. And I mean, the only way Max can challenge if Yuki Tsunoda was able to be given a car that was much quicker, and then of course in turn that would benefit Max. But Tsunoda is showing how poor the car really is. I know Tsunoda's been very poor in of itself, but Yeah, I mean, not even Felipe Massa struggled this much during the 2012 F1 season, where he only scored like what was it, 20 points in the first 12 races of 2012 or something. Like, yeah, not even Felipe Massa struggled this much, and that 2012 Ferrari was seen as a dog, a real dog of a car. Yeah. I think Max Verstappen fans are probably going to start checking out this season, to be honest. I think deep down they know that fifth championship is not going to be, that fifth championship crown is not going to be arriving at Max Verstappen's doorstep come December at Abu Dhabi now. It's just so unlikely. It's a shame, but, you know, I think Max Verstappen, I think the rumours of Max joining Mercedes is just going to keep escalating from the rest of this season, I'm afraid, because it's no longer going to be a case of Max using Mercedes as a bargaining chip. I think it could be a very, very actual, real driver move occurring at the end of this season, because here, of course, none of us can foresee how quick or how bad Ford will be next season as Red Bull's new engine partners. And I think the number two seat conundrum could also now become a number one seat conundrum, because of course then they're going to have to also look for a number one driver to replace Yuki and Max. Yeah, I mean, obviously Norris, I hope Norris pulls his finger out and doesn't collapse under pressure like he did last season. Yeah, but thankfully, though, Piastri is not quite as good as a driver as Max Verstappen is, which we can all be very thankful for. Vettel in 2012. Ooh. How often do I go live? I go live during qualifying sessions and race sessions when there's an F1 Grand Prix on, so that will be, let me just tell you right now, next week, Silverstone British Grand Prix, 6th of July. I might go live again during the 13th and 20th of July, since there won't be a race weekend on, but I'll try and like fit in the gap. 27th of July and 3rd of August, I will go live again for Belgium and Hungary, and I will go live for the qualifying sessions the day before. Yeah, so you can be guaranteed those 3 race weekends I will go live again, unless I have plans to do with, I don't know, with my family or my personal responsibilities. I will tell you at least like 3 days beforehand, though, if I cannot do a live stream in advance. So don't worry. Thank you for obviously for watching my channel and giving me viewers and all that. 12 likes, 50 watching. Looks like the 35th driver will become a new world champion. Yes, obviously, I know, of course, I think we would have preferred to have had the likes of Charles Leclerc, Ferrari, and George Russell more involved in the championship fight. But of course, George Russell is 70 points behind, and Leclerc is already 97 points behind Oscar Piastri, I'm afraid. But Mercedes have been struggling. Ferrari. I'm going to have to say this. Who do I think the champion will be? I think it's going to be this guy. Do you want to know who I think it will be? Just you wait. There we go. There we go. That's who I think will make it next year. Make it this year, I beg your pardon. That's my big prediction, folks. To be fair, I think Norris will make a bare fist of this championship fight, but I think deep down, Oscar's stronger mentality will prevail under pressure. I don't think, I mean, as long as Oscar just keeps it calm and cool, takes wins when he can, finishes second when it's the best possible result, I think as long as he can avoid allowing Norris to poke his nose in front. Do I think there should be a race at Aston? I can't even pronounce it. Aveston Raceway. I don't know, mate. Let's have a good look. That sounds interesting. Hello there, Hopi. I hope you're doing well this weekend after Lando Norris win. Is this a horse race? It's a horse race. Oh yeah, I could remember. What was it? In the 50s, Aintree used to hold an F1 race. I don't know. Aintree in Liverpool used to hold an F1 race. Who's my favourite driver on the current grid? It is Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon on his current grid, but of course, I think a lot of people will be well aware of the fact that I used to support a Finnish driver who was the 2007 World Champion for 2 decades before he retired. Of course, I will say that even though Albon and Gasly are good drivers, I do not rate those two as highly as I rated Raikkonen when he was in F1. So yeah, there's that. I've gone on many passionate rants about what I feel about Kimi Raikkonen's career and the fact he could have had up to 4 championships had luck gone his way. But, you know, I still believe that if you give Albon and Gasly a top card, they might do something. I don't know whether they could win a championship. I mean, Gasly was apparently offered a seat at McLaren for 2023 when they got rid of Ricciardo, and yet for some reason he said no. Oh man, what a poor career mistake that was by Gasly, and now he's paying the price because, you know, we could well be having Pierre Gasly leading the championship, and yeah, don't know, mate. Gasly, even though, yeah, he was shafted by Red Bull in his time in the team, I think he has become somewhat of his worst enemy when it comes to driver decisions. Hulkenberg's a good driver, but I don't think Hulkenberg will ever get a chance to be like, to win a championship or win races. He might get a podium or two, but I kind of get the feeling if Bottas continues to improve, then unfortunately, even if Audi do produce a top car in the next 2 or 3 years, then it'll be Bottas who will be leading the championship fight, not Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is just aged out, I'm afraid. Although he's not aged out anywhere near as quickly as Magnussen did. I don't know. I mean, who's your favourite driver now? Say, like, I know you like to support what's his name. Not what is his name. Ferrari as a team, but I don't know. You don't seem to have any bias towards any particular drivers on the grid right now. Ever since Vettel quit at the end of 2022. I mean, Jackie Stewart fans are now like what 85 years old, so probably 70s at best. And of course, F1 didn't start doing live coverage in the UK until like, was it 1979-ish? So, I mean, in order to watch Jackie Stewart in action, there have been a lot of F1 fans had to actually attend the races in person, actually be able to have a lot of money to travel to different countries. I don't know. I mean, oh yeah, Lando Norris. How can I forget? How can I forget about? Yep. Lando Norris did himself proud, and I've given him an A-star and a driver of the day. So, you know, I've actually got a lot of nice words to say about Lando Norris for once. Which, I've got to be honest, is very much contrary to what I've been saying about Lando Norris for the past 12 months, if I'm going to be brutally honest. And with F1 has gone missing. He's gone MIA, missing in action. Where is that? Our favourite guest of ours, Mr. Will F1. Where's he gone? Nowhere to be seen. MIA, missing in action. Le Chat Noir has stolen and has disappeared. Will F1 into hiding. One of my favourite guests on this channel. I don't think I would go as far as to give Lando a 20 out of 10. Let's calm the hell down. Like, McLaren have got the fastest car, and he only beat his teammate by about 2.5 seconds. So, yeah, good performance, but it's not like an all-time generational drive like Max Verstappen at 2019 Germany, or Kimi Raikkonen at 2005 Japan, or Alonso at 2012 Valencia, where they overtook half of the field or something crazy. I think 20 out of 10 should be only reserved for like the all-time generational drives. Alonso, 2012 Valencia. Kimi, 2005 Japan. Max, 2019 Germany, or even, what's it, 2022 Hungary. And of course, yeah, I was going to say, but I will say though, Sauber deserve an A-star as a team. They've got to be my team of the weekend. Exemplary performance by the boys at Sauber. And I think they have climbed quite a few. They have climbed up to 8th place in the constructor standings for that fantastic performance. 8th and 9th of Hulkenberg and Bottas, best quality performance and best race result of his young F1 career. He is the reigning F2 and F3 champion, so we should not count out Bottas for any potential future success in the sport. And he is only 21 years old. As for Pierre Gasly, he's 29 years old, and my God, I'm thinking, oh God, he needs a miracle now. But yeah, let's see the standings again, folks. I forgot what it was. Yeah, he will just say, yeah, this is the bare minimum for Lando Norris, because we all know what he's like. Oh no, that's the old championship standings for the constructors. They haven't updated it like they have done for the driver standings, which is obviously what we're looking for. Don't know what's going on there. Here we go. Let's look at the championship standings after the race. GCS standings, folks. 4-1-7 for McLaren. At this rate, I think McLaren could be on course to score the most ever points scored by a team in a Constructors' Championship. With both of their drivers first and second. Ferrari only just over half of McLaren's points in 210, having overtaken Mercedes. Same for Mercedes on 209. Red Bull 162 with only 7 points from Tsunoda, and of course Williams in a distant 5th place on 55 points, and of course I don't know, I'm trying to count all the points in my head. Who took 6th place? Was it, I think 6th place has got to be, was it Haas or not Haas? No, Racing Bulls, because of course Lawson scored 8 points. Obviously, before this weekend, Racing Bulls were also on 28 points, but because obviously Lawson got 6, he's on 36 points versus Haas. Bearman 1 point. No, not Bearman, sorry. Ocon 1 point. So Haas are now dropped to 29 points because of the only thing that kept him in 6th place was count back due to Ocon's 5th place at China. Sauber up to 8th place. I know that for certain. 6 points brings them 26 points. Alonso got, was it 6 points as well? Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh no, Aston Martin remained in 8th place because they've got 28 points now, while Sauber remained in 9th place, but they are still only 2 points behind Aston. Oh yeah, then of course this French team that will be switching to Mercedes engines next year, Team Enstone, are stuck on 11 points, and good grief, they don't deserve anything more than P10 at this rate. And if Cadillac can do anything next year, then yeah, I'm not sure whether Alpine can keep hold of P10, depending on how well Cadillac do next season. Of course, there are rumours Cadillac will be signing the likes of Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, maybe Zhou Guanyu. Don't know why on earth you would want Zhou Guanyu in your team, unless you wanted his money. Yeah, but to be fair though, I think the rain and the suspension and downforce settings suited the Toro Rosso that weekend with their very, very rearward bias of their brakes and their gearbox suited the wet conditions at Monza a lot. Yeah, his two favourite drivers, Perez and Bottas, going to be leading the way forward for the boys from Michigan. No, oh no, they've got two bases in Fishers and Indiana and Warren and Michigan. Will G1, yes, he's upgraded from F1 to G1. He's too good for F1 and he's now a G1 fan. I don't know what happens in G1 racing, but Will can probably tell us all about it. Okay, GM have announced that he will spend $65 million building an engine factory for 300 plus employees, which is expected to open in 2027. It also expects to spend $75 million to build the factory. Usher. Oh, right, and GM are going to purchase Renault's former power unit program, which that's going to be interesting, isn't it? I mean, a lot of Renault employees are going to be heading towards Cadillac, and I have to say this, that's another reason why Pierre Gasly should join Cadillac, because Cadillac are going to be a factory team, Alpine are going to become Mercedes customers. 4 facilities, just like Haas. Andretti Global have suggested it will base its F1 and IndyCar operations in the same building, but IndyCar will be sent to a different facility since F1 prohibits multi-team facilities. Race team and chassis will operate in Silverstone. I think they'll probably take over a couple of old facilities from the old Jordan/Force India team by the looks of it. And they're going to build a technology center in North Carolina. That's impressive. That was the Indy 500, so that doesn't count, to be honest. But that was back when F1... Oh, yeah, DNQ, that is Cadillac's resources as an engine supplier, but at the Indy 500, so... I don't know. I mean, I think... I know it says as an engine manufacturer they had 2 races entered, but really, I think 2026... Australia is obviously going to be Cadillac's full F1 debut, so... Obviously, if I was going to be in charge of Cadillac, I would sign up Teo Porcher as one of the drivers. I don't know who else I would put in. I'd probably put Pierre Gasly in the second seat, but the problem is they're both from France, so from a marketing point of view, I don't know, that's going to look a bit weird. I think, to be truly honest, I think I would probably give a chance to Colton Herta for the American marketing side, since this is supposed to be an American team. World F1 is much more brutal than you. He's brutal, mate. You don't want to be found in a street corner. You don't want to be found in an alleyway with World F1, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Nah, mate, it's got to be Colton Herta and Pierre Gasly for me. It's got to be Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly's a young driver. Perez is now 35 years old. He's not got much mileage left in the tank, and he's been sitting on his backside for the past 6 months, just eating nachos and cheating on his wife. So don't tell Aaron Malloy about that, because of course Aaron Malloy is one of the biggest Perez fanboys you'll ever find, and of course he's always been on record saying, "Don't sit there and report Perez's private life." Yeah, Aaron, mate. I had to enjoy 2 decades of the press writing up all sorts of silly stories about Kimi Räikkönen's personal life. So you're not the only one to have had to listen to all sorts of hearsay about your favourite driver in the media, mate. Alonso, Hamilton, as I've had all sorts of stories told about them in the past 25 years. So why should Perez be exempt from having his personal life reported on, even though it's not the most pleasant thing in the world? We've got 13 races to go. Silverstone in Britain, Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, Hungaroring in Hungary, and then we have a month's break until we go to Zandvoort in Holland, which of course I think Zandvoort will probably, sadly, will have its contract terminated in the next 2 years from what I've heard, I'm afraid. 2026, yeah. I think 2026 will be the last time we have a Dutch Grand Prix since, of course, other venues like Thailand and Madrid, of course, Madrid will be hosting a race next year, replacing Imola. Thailand is a prospective venue for F1, meaning that we're going to see more European venues disappear from the calendar. Monza, fans' favourite, the home of the Tifosi, up next in September. Azerbaijan is probably going to get a contract deal until like 2045. Singapore, Kota in America, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi will close off the calendar. Yeah, World F1 keeps spamming like 20 comments on every video he does. Like, World F1 is like, just doesn't leave you alone. I think Alex Palou is probably another prospective driver for Cadillac. Alex Palou has made it very vocal how much he wants to join F1, so I think Alex Palou is now, I mean, he's probably going to win 3 IndyCar championships, and I think Alex Palou's already reached the same point where someone like Alex Tsunoda reached and Juan Pablo Montoya were in IndyCar, and that they had nothing left to prove there, so yeah. I mean, Tsunoda back-to-back IndyCar champion in 97 and 98. Montoya 99 Kart Series champion, and of course the 2000 Indy 500 winner in his first attempt. My God, Montoya was absolutely insane in the late 90s, I've got to say. Until, of course, he ran into Kimi Räikkönen, his teammate, and then he got exposed for what he really was. Yeah, Huckster loves F1. He's been watching F1 for like 4 or 5 decades now, so you know, all power to Huckster, who has forgone more F1 than any of us will probably ever know about. Okay, I won't repeat that. Yeah. We all love Dave Huckster, although I have to say I can't remember the last time I commented on his videos, which must have been like 3 or 4 months ago, because I don't talk to him very often, and I don't know, I think he has like a job where he has to do loads of night shifts, so unfortunately he's often streaming until like 4 o'clock in the morning, and unfortunately it doesn't mean he gets many views because of that. Okay. Yeah, I think it's all... Yeah, I think Huckster is obviously joking. Like, we all know he's taking a rip all the time. He does have a remarkably good sense of humour considering he is on the spectrum. Of course, I know when you're on the spectrum, it can be quite hard to understand sarcasm and jokes people would find obvious, but to you would sound like dry humour. But anyway, yeah, great channel. Huckster, we all love him here. I don't know, mate. Although, unfortunately, we are living in a day and age where every musician are basically now a rip-off of musicians from the past. I mean, there was this guy and his band called Bob Wieland who would caught all the wrong attentions. Like, this guy for telling... Obviously, I know, people support Palestine, but yeah, I think they went over the top when they said death to the IDF yesterday. I mean, Bob Wieland, it's an obvious rip-off of Bob Dylan at Glastonbury. Sorry, mate, that's ridiculous, but enough of that garbage. Yeah, Jack Dowen and Franco Colapinto, I mean... I know there's been some people who have speculated they could join Cadillac, but I don't really know what the hell they would give Cadillac to them, but... We have to remember that, I mean, Colapinto being Argentine could bring a lot of sponsorship money, but Dave versus Hamilton would be funny to watch. Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Obviously, last night I saw the England under-21s win the Euros for a second time in a row, thanks to Lee Carsley's great management. And Well, obviously, it doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things, but I think there's at least 5 or 6 players who will probably get a full-time senior call-up in Tino Livramento, Harvey Elliott, Eddie Anderson, maybe Jay Stansfield. I don't know, possibly James Beadle in the next 5 years, and possibly, I don't know, someone else like maybe a Amari Hutchinson. Possibly even Tyler Morton or Alex Scott, but, you know, obviously, those who watched my football coverage last night, great success. Got 2,500 views, although it was a cup final involving England and Germany, so of course it was always going to get plenty of views. Thank you for 30 likes here at Crystal Racing, and I have to say it's been a great stream, and I've enjoyed it a lot, but I think I need to give my voice a break. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again. Maybe hello there, Stephen Mason again. I've seen you again. I mean, obviously, I think I've seen you on my football streams, and I hope you've been having a great weekend like I have, celebrating England's success. And of course, Lando Norris winning his 3rd race of the season here in Austria and getting within 15 points of Australian Oscar Piastri in the championship. 14 likes. Thank you so much for all the support. I was going to sign off, but you came along. I just want to say a nice word to you, Stephen. I have my man. Thank you. Loving the streams. Yeah, all the support is appreciated. Hamilton has finished every race, but still not got a podium, whilst teammate Leclerc has now got 4 podiums to his name. Of course, Ferrari are not in the championship fight in either the drivers or the constructors. Antonelli remained 7th, and he remained 21 points ahead of Alex Albon, who also failed to finish the race. Ocon is in a distance 9th place with 23 points, with Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is now just 1 point behind Ocon in the driver standings with 22 points. What a season he's had, and I think he's already now outscored Bottas and Zhou's points totals combined over the last 2 years at Sauber, which I think between Bottas and Zhou, they only scored 20 points at most between 23 and 24, and he's already got 22 points in just 11 races. But a point behind Hulkenberg is Isaac Hadjar, who has now just dropped out of the top 10. But Isaac Hadjar at RB has had a great rookie season so far, despite probably actually struggling here in Austria. Seriously good job by Hulkenberg. But unfortunately, I think at the age of 38, I think he might be too old to really take advantage of a top car at this point. It's a bit sad, but he was passed over for a chance to join Mercedes and Ferrari back in 2015 and 2017. So I think the problem is he's so highly rated that a lot of drivers have taken note and have, you know, resulted in trying to block him from joining their teams, like, you know, Alonso at Ferrari, Vettel at Ferrari, and then, of course, Hamilton at Mercedes. And they all put a stipulation in the contract saying that if you sign Hulkenberg, then I will leave the team. Because Hulkenberg is clearly one of the more underrated drivers in F1. Because just because the fact that in about, what's it, 238 starts, he's had no podiums. My God, I didn't realise he'd been around for that long now. Oh my God, he's actually going to reach 250 starts soon, but yet no podiums, 0 podiums. That is a record that I think the next highest up after that is Adrian Sutil on about 140 starts with no podiums, which is, yeah, but I mean, Hulkenberg is a result of what modern F1 is like, where the midfield teams have a very hard time just snatching a podium result here and there. And of course, Chazra HD will always counter my claim by saying that Perez scored 10 podiums at Sauber and at Force India. So yeah, maybe he's not the complete driver, but he is a very good driver nonetheless. Stroll's got 14 points, same points as Alonso now. It's even Stevens at Aston Martin. Of course, Lance Stroll as we all predicted, would fall off the pace because Lance Stroll doesn't really care about what he's doing. Carlos Sainz in a disappointing 14th place with just 13 points compared to Albon's massive 42 points. My God, Albon has tripled Sainz's points tally for the season. That's crazy. 12 points for Lawson, 11 points for Gasly. Alpine, sell your team now. 7 points for Tsunoda. No, 10 points for Tsunoda, but of course, 3 of those points came for Racing Balls. 6 points for rookie Ollie Bearman. 4 points for Bottas, his first points of his whole F1 career at long last after 11 races in the sport. Finally announcing himself as an F1 driver, the young Brazilian Bottas, reigning Formula 2 and Formula 3 champion. And of course, the Rookie of the Year with the Antoine Hubert Award for this Brazilian talent, Gabriel Bottas. Still only 20. I thought, he's actually young enough. I thought he was. Yeah, I think I've wabbled on way too long enough now.